You should also be aware that in order to be granted such a variance, you require an affirmative vote of 5 members of the 7-member Board of Adjustment. Other variances require a majority of 4 votes to grant the variance. If you're an applicant for any variance and your variance is denied by this board, you have a right to appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of notice of this decision, and that court may overturn the decision of this board. If you are an objector to any type of variance and the variance is granted, you too may appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of decision of this board. If you do file an appeal, I ask that, in addition to complying with any requirements of notice requirements, particularly of statute or court rule, you provide a copy of your complaint with all supporting documentation to the zoning board secretary. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by notifying the Star Ledger, the Jersey Journal, the Newark City Clerk, and posting a copy on the bulletin board in the basement of Newark City Hall. In addition to adequate notice under the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this remote public meeting, as permitted by statute, was placed on the City of Newark's website. Members of the public may notify the host that you would like to ask questions or make a statement by using the raised hand feature located at the bottom of your computer screen or mobile device. If you are calling in on your telephone, you can press *9 to notify us. We will, of course, advise you when the appropriate time to ask questions or make statements are. I'd also add that this is the zoning board is a quasi-judicial body. Any appeals that are taken, we are required to provide an official transcript of these proceedings to the Superior Court. The chat is not part of the official transcript. We want to make sure that any questions you have, the answers to your questions, and any statements you have are contained in the official transcript. Again, the chat is not part of the official transcript. So I'd ask you to refrain from using the chat so we can make sure that we get your questions, comments as part of the official transcript. Additionally, when you use the chat, it's disruptive. It pops up in front of everybody. It's akin to speaking out loud and out of turn if we were meeting in person. So I'd ask you again, please refrain from using the chat. The meeting of the Newark Zoning Board will now come to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call the chair, the roll.
Member Hall.
Present.
Member Hardesty.
Present.
Member Comesañas.
Present.
Member Jones.
Present.
Member Rivero.
Present.
Member Torres.
Present.
Chair Afant.
Present. Are there any requests for adjournments or postponements? Any requests for adjournments or postponements? If so, please identify yourself by using the raised hand feature. I see no raised hands. Call the first case, please.
The time is now 6:19 p.m. The first item on tonight's agenda is ZBA-24-37, located at 542 Broadway, Block 679, Lot 64 in the North Ward. The applicant is Raul Enrique Miniel Duran. In the C2 zone, the applicant proposes to occupy commercial space for a church and community outreach. Applicant is seeking a D1 use variance. Site plan approval is not required. This application was previously adjourned from the September 12th hearing to this date.
The Board of Adjustment made the following findings of fact with respect to this property. And I'd ask for the applicant and the applicant's team to identify themselves by raising their hands, using the raise hand feature so we can bring you in. The property is located in Newark's North Broadway Woodside neighborhood on the western side of Broadway between Delavan and Chester Avenue. The total site area is approximately 1,556.8 square feet. The surrounding land uses consist of mixed use and residential properties. And who is the applicant on this? Am I correct that the applicant is Raul Enrique Miniel Duran? Uh-huh.
Yes, sir.
Yes, are you the owner of this property?
No,
Who is the owner of the property?
¿Cómo se llama?
the owner of this property is uh,
Is it
542 Broadway LLC.
okay? Are you a member of that LLC?
No, sir.
Okay. You have counsel, Pastor Duran?
Yes, okay.
No, my name is Araceli Sahar. I helped them put the application together. I'm his accountant.
Okay. Do you have a site plan?
Is that the plans that he submitted with the application?
Yeah. Do you have those?
¿Tú tienes los planes contigo? Ábreme ahí un momentito. Yeah, he does. Los planes.
Well, okay, let's Pastor Duran, do you speak English?
Yo no.
Que si habla un poquito de inglés.
No,
Okay.
Araceli,
I'll be here translating for you.
Are you okay. Ma'am, could you raise your right hand, please?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that you will translate exactly what I say to Pastor Duran and exactly what Pastor Duran says back to this board to the best
I
of
do.
your ability? Do you?
Yes, I do.
And could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Aracelis Tejada. Residential address is 9 North End Terrace, Newark, New Jersey, 07104.
Pastor Duran, could you raise your right hand, please? Traducer, por favor.
Levante su mano derecha, por favor.
Pastor Duran, do you swear or affirm
Pastor Durán, usted jura y afirma
that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
que el testimonio que usted va a proveer en este momento va a ser la verdad, solamente la verdad.
lo juro, sí.
I swear, yes.
Thank you. You can lower your hand.
Puede bajar la mano. Gracias. So I have the site plans in front of me.
Ma'am, you're the translator. You're not
Okay.
presenting this case.
Okay,
Pastor,
Pastor,
you may proceed.
usted puede proceder.
Ok.
Déjale saber lo que tiene en las manos.
Tengo en las manos los planos.
I have in my hand the site plans.
Did you prepare the plans?
¿Usted preparó los planos?
No, un arquitecto.
No, an architect did.
Who's the architect?
¿Cuál es el arquitecto?
En Architect Studio, en la compañía.
AM Architect Studios is the company.
Will the architect be here to walk us through his plans this evening?
El arquitecto va a estar aquí presente con nosotros para que nos explique los planos.
Un arquitecto de la compañía está en línea.
One of the architects of the company is online.
And what is that architect's name?
¿Cuál es el nombre del arquitecto?
Nelson Alberto Minier.
Nelson Alberto Minier.
Ms. Mejia, do we see that architect?
Yes, Nelson Miniel is here.
Let's bring him in.
Usted ve el arquitecto, le preguntó a ella, la señorita, y él le dijo que sí, y lo van a conectar.
I wonder, Mr. Miniel, if you can turn on your camera and unmute yourself.
Dile.
Ok. Hay que avisarle a él.
Ok.
Él está avisando a él que prenda su cámara y se quite de estar en mute, no tú, al señor Minier Nelson.
Pastor Duran, is the architect in the same room or building as you are?
Pastor Minier, el arquitecto está en el mismo edificio que nosotros estamos.
No.
No, no.
Architect Miniel, can you turn your camera on and unmute yourself?
They're trying to tell me that he's trying to get access, but it's not working. Can you give him access?
He has access. I see his name here.
Ya le dieron el acceso.
Que le dé a join.
Uh-huh. He's not in the room with you though, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, he's not.
Who are you speaking to then?
His daughter is on the phone
Okay.
at his office
You
right
know
now.
what? Now he's gone. Oh, he's here.
He's back.
Can you unmute yourself? Necesitan un joven to help you.
Ok.
You have to unmute yourself.
Te tiene que quitar el mute ahora.
Que le quite el mute.
Que le quite el mute. Él no puede.
Dile que está tratando.
Ahí,
So we seem to be having some problems proceeding with your matter. Here's what I'm suggesting.
parece que estamos teniendo un problema con tu caso. Esto es lo que yo te voy a sugerir.
What you're requesting a significant variance.
Tú estás pidiendo un variance bien significante.
It's called a D variance. right?
Es una variance número D, el numerado D.
It asks for permission to do something in this zone that is not permitted.
Y es pedir hacer algo en una zona donde no está permitido. Por eso está la aplicación.
You will have to show that you meet the legal requirements to get this variance.
Tú vas a tener que mostrar que tú calificas legalmente para esta variance.
It would be helpful to your case
Sería ayudante para el caso de usted
to have experts help you present the testimony and present your proofs.
tener expertos que puedan presentar el testimonio y la prueba.
The board usually hears from an architect who prepared the plans, who will discuss those plans with us and walk us through the plan.
Usualmente la junta espera que el arquitecto discuta esos planes con ellos y les explique.
And then you or your
No.
other experts
No puede hablar.
you or your other experts will have to show how you meet the legal requirements to
Y
do what
tú
you
y
want
tus
to do.
expertos tienen que mostrarle a la Junta cómo es que tú legalmente puedes calificar para este variance donde la zona no lo llama. ¿Ve?
Right now, your architect is having trouble unmuting himself so he could speak to us.
Ahora mismo el arquitecto tiene problemas en conectarse en la cámara y desmutarse para
So-
que pueda hablar con la Junta, porque ellos quieren hacerle preguntas.
So, yeah, so what I'm gonna do is give you some time to help your architect figure out how to work the technology.
Él te va a dar un tiempito para que el arquitecto sepa cómo entrar.
I'll hear some other cases and then we'll come back to you.
Va a escuchar otro caso y van a regresar al caso tuyo.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll second call this. Let's call the next case.
Mute. So I'm going to mute.
Okay, good.
The time is now 6:32 PM. The next item on tonight's agenda is ZBA 24-27, located at 1089 Broad Street, block 2824, lot 22 in the Central Ward. The applicant is Karima Jackson for Advanced Family Counseling Services. In the C2 zone, the applicant proposes the interior fit out of a vacant space to be used as a substance abuse treatment facility. Applicant is seeking a D1 use variance to permit substance abuse treatment center. Site plan approval is not required. This application was previously adjourned from the September 5th hearing date.
I wonder if everyone on this. Bear with me 1 second. Can we lower the pastor's hand, Ms. Mejia? And make me a co-person. I wonder if everyone on application ZBA 24-27, everyone on the applicant's team, 1089 Broad Street, could you please raise your hand so we can identify you and bring you in? This is 1089 Broad Street. The Board of Adjustment made the following findings of fact with respect to this property. It's located in Newark's Lincoln Park neighborhood in the northwestern corner of the intersection of Broad and South. The surrounding land uses consist of a detached two and a half story dwellings and mixed use dwellings. I wonder. Miss Jackson has her hand raised. Let's bring Miss Jackson. And Miss Jackson, you're gonna have to accept the invitation to be brought in. Who's the attorney on this case? Is there an attorney on this matter? Is Miss Jackson in? Miss Jackson? Karima Jackson?
Yes, I'm here, Karima Jackson.
Hi, Karima Jackson. Do you have an attorney on this matter?
No, I am not incorporated or an LLC, sir.
So you have no attorney, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, who's gonna be presenting this?
Okay, myself, Karima Jackson, my architect, my licensed architect, and my planning board member.
Okay. Ms. Jackson, can you turn your camera on?
Okay, I thought I was on, I'm sorry. Okay, can you see me now?
Yes, takes me a while.
Sure.
Bear with me 1 second. Okay, and Karima Jackson, you're the applicant here. Do you own this property, ma'am?
No, I do not. It's a lease property.
Okay, and you're the applicant together with Advanced Family Counseling Services, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what is the both of you are the applicants here?
Okay, it's one individual, Advanced Family Counseling. I am the CEO, owner, and I am also the applicant for this
Okay.
session.
And how is Advanced Family Counseling, what kind of entity is that?
It's a sole proprietorship.
Sole proprietorship?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any objectors here on application ZBA 24-27, 1089 Broad Street? If so, please raise your hand so we can identify you. And I'd ask that you keep your hands raised.
How you object from this?
Excuse me?
How do you do the object on the panel here?
Well, are you here as an objector, Samsung SM-59?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and please raise your hand.
My hand's been raised.
Well, you're doing a great job then. So right now, okay, there's a screen named Robert. You have your hand raised, but you declined to be promoted. I don't know if you're an objector here or not. How many objectors have identified themselves, Ms. Mejia?
3, I believe.
Okay, let the record reflect that there are 3 objectors. So I'd ask the objectors to keep, and I'd ask everyone to mute themselves. Objectors will be able to ask questions after the applicant has given, or one of her experts have given testimony. And at the appropriate time, objectors will be given the opportunity to make a statement. Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
you may proceed.
Okay. So on September 5th, I gave a full testimony that includes the function and description of my agency.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
This is a brand new day.
Okay. 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 My name is Karima Jackson. I am the CEO, owner of Advanced Family Counseling Services. I am licensed, in the process of being licensed, for my substance use addiction counseling license with the state of New Jersey. The license division is NJAC 10:161B. I am looking for a D1 variance to operate in the city of Newark in the Central Ward. What other information do you want me to present today?
Whatever you think is necessary to advance your application, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. My agency renders substance use disorder counseling services to individuals who are seeking to remain clean from substance use addiction. The client's description are clients who are detox from any drugs that they were currently using and are seeking counseling to remain clean from using substance drugs. My agency does not distribute any medication. We have a program that is approved, that is a part of our operational manual with the state of New Jersey to prescribe a drug named Suboxone, which is only prescribed to the client to a system that we utilize called e-prescribe. Again, no drugs or of any kind are kept on the premises. Our hour of operation for our clinic are for the hours 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on Saturdays from 9:30 to 1:30. We plan on gathering our clients by working with the city of Newark, director of the homelessness program and the violent prevention program, for clients who are seeking help with their substance use addiction problem. I have my architect and my planner here with me to address and describe the facility in more detail. May I announce them?
Well, would you be open to the board asking you questions at this time, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, good. Are there questions for Ms. Jackson from the board? Commissioner Riviero.
You saying all your clients will be coming from you said the director in charge of the homeless in the city of Newark?
No, our license is state license. It's issued by the state of New Jersey. But I have been in contact with the director of the city of Newark homelessness program and the director for the Newark Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, Lakeisha Yora. The city of Newark and the area that I'm looking to operate at has a large amount of individuals who are I'm looking to take on as clients.
And excuse me one second, and excuse me, Commissioner Riviero. Ma'am, I think I failed to swear you in. So can I ask you to raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're giving this evening is and will continue to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And once again, could you just state your name and give us your address, please?
Yes, Karima Jackson, Karima Jackson, Jackson, 110 Mead Street, Newark, New Jersey, 07106.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for interrupting, Commissioner Riviero. Please proceed.
Thank you. One more question, or do you want me to wait for your planner perhaps? Would you happen to know how many clients a week you would expect to help or serve?
Yes. Yes, I do. Just give me 1 second, please.
Okay. I was like, okay, could you tell us roughly how many? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So roughly, okay, I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second. I haven't my notes. Okay. Roughly, okay. So per day, it's between 30 and 40 clients per day. Okay, between 30 and 40 clients a day. So 30 times about 30 times 5, 150 per week.
How many professionals will be under you?
Yes.
Or many?
Mhm. Okay, so my staff consists of one psychiatrist, one physician, a MD, who is the prescriber, and one receptionist, one lab tech, and 6 licensed substance use disorder counselors.
Thank you. That would be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Comesañas.
What distinguishes your program from some of the other programs doing the same thing in the area?
Well, we do not handle medications on site. And another big difference is the clients that we treat are clients that are being recently discharged from a program. So they have been clean for 30 or 45 days or more. So they are not currently using while receiving counseling at our facility. And that's where our MAT, medication assisted treatment program, comes in. And if they need help, struggling while receiving the counseling, our prescriber is licensed to prescribe Suboxone to help them through the process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Ma'am, what is Suboxone?
Yes, Suboxone is a prescription used to help heroin addicts prevent them from using heroin drugs. It's a prescribed drugs to help an heroin addict to sustain a clean life, sober life.
Is this used for withdrawal from opioids?
No, not at the front end. The withdrawal process happens before they are admitted into our clinic. So any other drugs than Suboxone will not be prescribed by our staff. It will be handled in the detox facility where they'll be coming from.
Have you ever worked with a substance abuse center that uses Suboxone to treat opioid addiction?
Yes, for 11 years.
And which treatment center was this?
Yes, okay. The Restoration Center here in Newark, and another one, well, actually 3, the New Direction, and also Bethel Family Counseling.
Okay. And are you a physician?
No, I am not a physician. I am the CEO administrator.
Are you a psychologist?
No, I am not a psychiatrist.
Or a psychologist?
No, I am not a psychiatrist. I am not.
Okay. What are you a certified substance abuse treatment counselor?
No, but I would like to describe the way the state issues the license. My license is outlined that I have to have licensed clinicians approved, active license to operate my facility. So on record, I am the owner / CEO of Advanced Family Counseling Services, and I employ licensed clinicians to render the services.
Have you ever operated a substance abuse treatment in the past?
I was the manager of one, yes.
Okay. And which center did you manage?
Yes, I co-manager Bethel Family Counseling Center, which is no longer operating, but yes.
So you were the co-manager?
Yes, I was.
And that center is no longer operating?
Right.
When did it close?
I'm 2 maybe 2 or 3 years now. Yes, about 2 to 3 years now. I'm guessing, yes.
Okay. And were you the co-manager when it closed?
No, I was part-time, I want to say helping out because I started searching to open my own clinic prior to them closing.
Did you work for them full-time as a co-manager?
No, I was contracted, but I was not a full employee of Bethel. No.
So you were a part-time co-manager?
No, I was full-time, but it was more on a per diem level.
And I'm very confused.
Okay.
So per diem means per day.
Like per day, but not a 40-hour work week.
How long was your work week?
It varies on the workload that they had. I also oversaw the billing for that facility.
Okay. So you were not a full-time, you weren't employed full-time, and you were employed as a consultant, not as an employee.
Correct.
And what was your official title?
I was the co-manager of the facility, sir.
What were your duties there?
Okay, I would oversee the daily schedule, and I would coincide for the billing function, verifying the records were in order for me to operate their billing system.
Okay. And this is closed now, correct?
Right. It has been closed since.
It's been closed for several years, you suggested, right?
Yeah.
Why did it close?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm not really sure.
And did they use Suboxone there?
They had a prescriber there that prescribed Suboxone as well.
Okay. You said you're employing several certified counselors, is that correct?
Six counselors.
Are they employed yet?
Yes, they are on my profile. That was one of the state's requirements for me to hire my staff.
Now, you suggested that you were licensed and then you stated that you were waiting for final approval. What's your current status?
Okay, waiting for the final approval for my facility, the location, my permit.
So you are not licensed by the state just yet, is that fair to say?
Right.
Okay.
But
okay. Commissioner Komisanis, thank you, Ms. Jackson.
You're welcome.
What type of signage are you looking to put on the building?
The sign is a part of my layout that my architect has done, which he will show. It's on the plan layout.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the board for Ms. Jackson? Additional questions from the board for Ms. Jackson? Are there any questions from the objectors for Ms. Jackson? If you have a question and you're an objector or a member of the public, please raise your hand. There's a hand raised by screen name Steve C. Steve C, can you turn your camera on by any chance? Hi, can you have a question for Ms. Jackson?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I do. Well, thank you,
Sir,
Mr. Chairman.
could you state your name, give us your address, and give us your question, please?
Yes, Steve Cordova, address is 17 South Street, right across the street from the proposed facility.
Thank you. Your question, sir.
Yeah, I actually have a few questions. Is that okay or
Please.
Okay, great. So some of the questions really revolve around the impact on the community, the safety measures, the traffic and infrastructure, the long-term plans.
What are the questions?
Oh, sure. My first question regarding impact on community. I'd like to note that there are 2 grammar schools within 100 meters of this proposed facility. What studies have been conducted to assess the potential impact of this drug treatment center on our neighborhood, particularly regarding property values and community safety?
Okay, well, we do not foresee it being a negative impact because, again, we do not handle medications on the premises. And two, our clients are not actually using drugs. They are coming in for counseling on a daily basis and leave. So we do not anticipate a negative impact on the community.
What studies have you done specifically?
What do you mean by that?
Studies, any type of assessment that was made by outside third-party services, anybody that can actually to quantify the potential impact of a center like this?
Yes, I have my planner who's actively on this meeting as well. And I want to say that I understand your concern and I respect it because I am a homeowner as well myself in the city of Newark. And my two sons used to go to the school link on the corner there. So I am familiar with the area, which has changed in a very, very negative way. So I respect your concern, but I
would object to that classification of the neighborhood changing in a negative way, but you know, we can look at actual safety records to indicate the contrary to that. But continue.
Well, I think your question was, did you conduct any studies? Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Did you conduct any studies?
Yes,
Do
prior
you
to
have those
submit,
studies with you?
um,
Were they submitted to the board?
well, when I say studies, I was in the neighborhood prior to submitting I evaluated the neighborhood prior to submitting my application to the Newark zoning board. And I talked to, several people, including the homeowner next door to the building, Ms. Cruz, who lives at 18-20 South Street. So yes, so I did some footwork and I submitted a petition to the city of Newark, the board secretary for this meeting as well.
Ms. Jackson, we cannot review petitions.
Oh, okay.
By law, we're only permitted to take live testimony.
Okay.
Mr. Cordova?
Yes.
Next question.
Second. Yes. What specific safety measures will be implemented to ensure the security of both the center's clients and the surrounding residents?
Okay, I do plan on hiring a security guard, an unarmed security guard, just to maintain the security, and the safety of the not only employees but the staff members and the community. But I know by having the exposure in this type of outpatient facility that because the great advantage is because these clients are not actively using illegal drugs and are being monitored and monitored by the physician on staff, it won't have that negative impact on the community. It will not.
I'd like to object to that, but I'll continue with my questions.
Okay.
Were alternative locations considered for the drug treatment center? And if so, what were the reasons for choosing this particular site over the others?
Because I found a heavy compact negative impact on this area. And I am from Newark, so I chose to start here to help the problem there, and in the near future to purchase a home in this area, and if it can get better in this ward. I currently own a home in the West Ward, and I'm looking to purchase another home in the Central Ward. That's one of the reasons as well.
What contingency plans are in place if the drug treatment center does not meet its goals or negatively impacts the neighborhood?
Well, we anticipate fully to meet our goals and to be a very successful, well-organized, professional facility at this location.
So do you have any contingency plans?
Yes, well, our lease is for 3 years. And then we plan to continue it moving forward.
So you don't have any contingency plans in place in case you don't meet your goals or this treatment center negatively impacts the neighborhood?
Okay, our plan does not show that it will start off as a negative position, and we do not plan to run it to end up in a negative position. So no.
Right. And not to say that it's going to be in the negative, but a contingency plan just in case things do not work out the way that you planned, something to kind of fall back on.
Okay, my experience with working in these facilities, and that's why, it's been 3 years since I've started this process. So our plan is a very, very good plan. We do not anticipate for it not to work out, not to be modest or to downgrade the question, but we do not plan for it not, to fail.
Plenty of people don't plan to fail, but they do. But just
Oh,
keeping that in mind.
We have a good plan. I have a staff, the state approved the operational plan, so we do not anticipate on failing.
Neither did the Titanic, but we'll continue.
Okay.
How will the increased traffic be managed, and what infrastructure improvements are planned to accommodate the influx of people and vehicles associated with the center?
Okay, well, we do not provide transportation, and our members have to be, according to our state approved manual, have to be able to come and go on their own. And the plus for this facility as well, because it's located at a good transportation accessible for our clients who do not have a vehicle, which is Broad Street.
So there are no plans to accommodate the influx of people or the vehicles associated with the center, is what you're saying?
We do not anticipate a congestion for my clients because they have been not living such a good life. I don't want to label them as not good, but we do not anticipate a congestion problem for my clients. Majority of them will be using public transportation, which is accessible right there on Broad and South Street.
Okay, my apologies to the board for taking up all the time and the questions, but just two more questions. How does this kind of fit in the overall master plan for Lincoln Park? I know Lincoln Park has been moving towards a certain direction, more of an arts district. How does this fit in this plan? I think it goes really contrary to what all the plans and all the developments that is happening around the area. How can this? How do you foresee this kind of fitting in this plan, or will it inhibit any type of further progress in the area?
Right. It would help the people in the community live better lives. They would have more access to help with their addiction problem. And again, I'm a homeowner in the city of Newark. We have a problem here. Not just on South Street. Not just on Border Market. It's a problem. I just find that my center is a good fit for that area because of the type of clients that we'll be rendering counseling services to. But I see it as a great benefit because right now, I mean, as the homeowner at 18-20, she just told me the other day that she's considering selling her house because it's so bad over there with the clients.
Yeah, but just for more nuance for the board, the house that she's mentioning is literally almost near abandonment because it's actually tilting, and the fire department is going to have to potentially condemn the place because they are looking to sell because there's no other option. So it's not necessarily her will to leave the area because of what Ms. Jackson is saying.
Appreciate that, but this is a time for questions. What is your next question, sir?
That's it. I just really want to urge the board to
Are there other questions from objectors at this time? Other questions from objectors at this time? If so, please raise your hand and we'll notice you. Screen name, where'd you go? Screen name Samsung SM S908U. Sir, could you unmute yourself?
Unmute.
Great.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jackson. How are you today?
Could you state, excuse me, could you
Yes,
state your name and give us your address for the record, sir?
Yes, my name is John Ferrari. I live in 14 South Street.
Mr. Ferrari, you have a question for Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Ms. Jackson, have you ever been in this neighborhood, like live in it, spend a couple days right here where you want to put your clinic?
Yes. And again, like I mentioned, my two sons went to school there. Yes, so I come there every day. I don't know if you ever seen me there, but I come there.
Yes, I have seen you, Mrs. Jackson, before.
Yeah, okay.
The reason I was asking if you ever live here, like in this neighborhood, in this block where you want to put your
Sir?
clinic is,
Sir?
yes,
Sir,
sir.
you have another question for Ms. Jackson?
Yes, yes, I do have
What
another
is your
question for Ms.
question?
Jackson. During the daytime and nighttime, we have a lot of individuals there in the neighborhood, dirty in the neighborhood and using drugs, any addiction that they do have, and they do destruction of houses here in this neighborhood, and
Is there a
you
question?
bringing more people in,
Is there a question, sir?
here is how
Sir,
are you going to be
sir?
preventing doing that stuff?
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, did you hear that?
Kind of, no. Can you please repeat it?
Sure. What his question was, how are you going to prevent bad actors from coming into the neighborhood that are using your services?
Okay, sure. Okay. Again, our clients are not actively using when they come. They are clients who are being discharged from a detox facility, and they are following up with their sobriety by receiving outpatient counseling, but they are not actively using.
And I think Ms. Jackson already stated that it is her intention to hire an unarmed security guard. I think that would also go to
Yeah,
that.
to protect her member staffs and people who work for her. That's the only thing.
Do you have any other questions, sir, for Ms.
Not at the
Jackson?
moment.
Thank you. Vice Chair Monfort. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Ms. Jackson, my question is, you say this area is a good fit for your center, correct?
Are you asking me? Yes.
And that's your statement. Okay. So my question is, you said you would get referrals from different places, including the homeless prevention OVP officers here in the city of Newark. Am I correct?
I said the homeless, right, and the city of Newark trauma center. Yes. Okay. Yes.
All right. So my question is, if this community that you're saying it has a heavy area, just in that area, I know the rest of the city has problems too. What is your outreach plan? If I'm having issues and I'm not going through my sobriety, how are you going to help me? Can I walk in off the street and get help, or do I have to go all the way across town to get a referral to come back to your agency?
No. We are our operation hours are from 8 to 4. If you want to come in and inquire, we can do a on-site evaluation on you to evaluate if you are currently using, or if you clean, or if you're coming from another OP clinic. We do evaluations for every client. It's not just from referrals. We do walk-ins during the hours of operations as well.
All right. And what is your outreach plan?
Okay, the outreach plan, depending on your evaluation findings, if you are currently using, we will refer you to a detox program for you to complete. And then once you complete that, you will be referred back to us for our outpatient counseling services.
Now, let me rephrase that. I'm not talking about to your individual service plan that you provide for the client. I'm talking about how would you go out into the community, let them know you're there, that service is provided. That's what I'm talking about as far as outreach, not your individual service plan to the client.
Right. Okay. Well, again, I am a homeowner, and I have currently been out attending functions in the city of Newark, spreading my word, spreading the word about my new clinic here in Newark. So we are actively out there spreading the word, and we foresee a great relationship with the city of Newark for us helping and developing more outreach programs for our people in the community. So again, we are just starting. So, and as we move forward, we will, gather more information, as we grow. But we do have referrals settings in place from the door. But it all starts with a evaluation of each client to find out what needs that individual client needs. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, my next question is,
Okay.
You've been in the industry. You've been in the Social Service Act of providing as a co-manager and got your license and everything. What is going to be your relationship with Integrity House?
Well, I know of Integrity House, but we are not contracted, bonded. It's two separate entities. But I am familiar with them because I'm a homeowner in Newark, so I know of Integrity House, but we are not legally contracted together. And they had different services for mine. I'm sure. Do you live in the neighborhood? I'm sorry.
I'm a Newark resident.
Oh, okay. Okay. Integrity House has a lot of other services that we don't even have. So we are not connected or contracted with Integrity House in any form.
So let me rephrase that for you. You're a social service agency providing substance abuse assistance to help a person keep sobriety. I am aware that Integrity offers other services that you may not providing, but you cannot tell me that you want to be an agency around the corner. I didn't say you had a contract. I said, what will be your relationship? There's no way you can be a provider and not have a relationship with one of the most stable organizations in the city of Newark over the past 40 years.
Well, I would say 50 years, but again, I cannot speak on the services for Integrity House. I can only speak for Advanced Family Counseling Services, and describe the services that we render.
No more questions at this time, Chair. I'll come back.
Thank you. Screen name Robert. Sir, can you unmute yourself? Can you state your name and your address for the record?
Can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me. Yeah, okay. My name is Robert, 14 South Street. We live right near Integrity House, and we're very familiar with the area. A lot of the stuff that everybody's been saying has pretty much been, addressed a lot of my questions. I'm just personally confused on how having all these different rehab centers in one area, with hers, now possibly coming in, how would that benefit anything here? There's still a lot of vagrants and everything around here. I feel like they would have a negative influence on the people that are coming out of her location. Like it could help them start doing drugs again.
I have a question, sir.
So my question is how do you prevent that from happening? Like I just don't see. I know what she's doing is honorable, but I don't see the purpose. If you can kind of like what differentiates you from anything else that's already going on here, and how would you prevent the vagrants from influencing the people that are, you said 30 days to 40 days sober? What's stopping them from maybe making them relapse or anything else? Like, how do you protect that? And also, there's one last question. Your staff has possibly cars too. So I understand like the people that are coming in for services may not have it, or maybe taking bus or public transportation. Where is your staff going to park, or how are they going to get there, and how is that going to affect the neighborhood in regards to parking? Because lately it's been getting worse and worse.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna answer the. Okay. I'm sorry. How many questions do you have for me?
It was more. I just don't understand how you differentiate from everything else that's going on already here. And like the gentleman before me had said, Integrity House is like one of the most well-known areas around here that's been doing their job very well. Even they have their struggles. So I just don't know how like you would differentiate from that, and also how the impact of the parking and the people that you are hiring are going to have on the environment in regards to parking. Because I know, like you said, the other people will probably be taking public transportation or something. Yeah.
Okay. So that is another advantage that even myself as the owner, because I live in Newark, for example, on like bad weather days, I plan on catching the public transportation. And majority of my staff, they live here in Newark as well. So they do have vehicles, but we have discussed about them catching public transportation. And, you know, and by this location being by Broad Street, it would also, you know, help them, you know, not, you know, spend so much money on gas because they live close, you know, here in Newark. And to answer your second question about the services, again, the services that we will be rendering are to clients who are not using and are seeking counseling to maintain sober. I don't know how much you know about addiction, but I, from my studies and my experience, I know that once you have been exposed and, you know, use drugs, your life is never the same. Your life is never the same, and that's why the state of the governor Murphy, he is pushing for more OP clinics like the ones that I'm trying to see this D1 Baptist for to open up because it's an ongoing treatment process for these people.
I'm sorry. I respect what you're saying. It's an honorable, you know, thing that you're trying to do. My concern though is, like I said, there's still, you know, not as many drug dealers out here, but there's definitely still vagrants and people that are still addicted in this area that I could see influencing like the area, you know, what's going on with you, because they've done it even in the parking lot in Integrity House. Like they've gone into Integrity House and done drugs and a lot of things have happened in the area that
What's your question, sir? Your
so
question?
my thing is my question is I still don't see how you would prevent or how would you keep these people from interacting with the people that are still in this area? Like, would you?
That's a fair question. I think as best as Ms. Jackson has been able to, she answered that question
Okay.
by saying that she continues to say that these persons are not active drug users and that she'll hire a guard. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Ms. Jackson? Sir, hold on. Anything you want to add to that, Ms. Jackson?
No, that is the.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, sir?
I was more concerned about when they leave or before they enter the establishment, the interaction with the people that are outside that area.
Her answer is her answer. I don't think she can get, you're asking her to guess or presume, and that's not gonna.
Okay.
I don't think she can answer that.
Okay.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. Where? I don't see her.
Right. Oh, can you see me?
There you go. Now I see you. Miss Jackson, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I just want to ask you a few questions, just for clarification. You have all the necessary license for open up this facility.
Yes, that is correct.
Well, that's
other than
that's not correct, Ms. Jackson.
Wait.
You don't have a license yet.
No, meaning for
You've applied for your license.
For my staff, yes,
Let's
and
be
it is
clear.
pending. Okay, yes, okay.
Oh, that's pending then. That's pending. Any idea when you would arrive at that license?
Yes, after I accomplish receiving the permit from the city of Newark for this location.
Okay. You talked about you would have a security guard. Indicated that was for you and your staff. What would be the purpose of you hiring a security, unarmed security guard? What's the purpose of that?
Just to maintain order in the event that an incident happens. We have someone trained to deal with a situation because again, these are clients that are not currently using, but they have used. So we just want to I want to maintain a safe environment, not only for my facility, but for the neighborhood as well.
So that would mean that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you would have that security person, as well as being inside, to be outside and looking around what's going on around the facility, around the street.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. The next question, and it kind of keep coming up, and maybe it up for me. I guess I'll ask it this way: what is your mission statement? What, in your plan, your mission statement? What do you hope to accomplish, or are you trying to accomplish?
Yes, I'm hoping to bring in my services to help the people of, I say, our community to get the help they need to live sober and more sustained lifestyle.
So, and we talked about studies. We all know that there is a extreme bad drug problem in our city, in our state, and there's new type drugs going on. To do any studies to identify that there is still a need, despite the other facilities that are available, to have even more facilities to serve our.
Yes, yes. The city of Newark especially need more facilities to help combat this crisis we have.
So did you do any research on that, or you just
Yes,
know it because you know it?
I'm sorry.
Did you do any research on it that you could say, well, yeah, I know, yeah, here's the numbers, or do
Yes,
you
I
know
have.
it? Okay,
Yes,
can
I
you
did. Mhm.
can you share some of that, some basic stuff with us?
Sure.
Or, okay, thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Welcome, no problem. Okay, so one of the research articles that I, was able to research and obtain is that in June of 23, the federal level, SAMHSA is the federal level that controls the substance abuse and mental health services. They worked with the city of Newark in June of 23 by helping them with grants to initiate for the city to open and spread out more outpatient facilities like mine to combat this problem. And that was in June of 23, for an example.
Ms. Jackson, I thank you. I just wanted to clear some. So thank you very much. And I think what you're doing is it. So thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Chairman.
Are there any further questions for Ms. Jackson? Any further questions for Ms. Jackson? Commissioner Comesañas.
Ms. Jackson, I know you made the statement that there's a need for this in Newark, and you cited an agency. My question is, do you believe there's a want for this in Newark from the residents or even from the city? I mean, considering that it's not permitted usage in any zone?
Yes, yes, yes. I have received feedback from the city of Newark, the director of the homelessness director, and also from the director Lakeisha Ura. She's the director for the Newark Office of Violence and Trauma, seeking my services once I become permitted to operate in the city of Newark.
Anything further, Commissioner?
That'll be all, sir.
Ms. Jackson, did you look at other sites?
Yes, but other wards you saying?
Well, other addresses. Did you look at
Yes.
other possible, and where did you look?
Okay, I looked in the West Ward. I of course in my ward first, West Ward, and I looked in the South Ward. But this facility was the best fit for my type of organization.
And why is that?
Because of the setting of the building itself and the room types that it can hold that are required by the state for me to render the services.
And did you have help in finding this site?
My staff and I literally did the footwork ourselves.
You want to call your next witness, Ms. Jackson?
Oh yes, it's my architect Alexander. He is available. He is here, and my planner.
Mr. Elias?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Elias, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Elias, are you a registered and licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
And your license, is it in good force? Is it currently in good force and effect?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we'll hear from you, sir.
May I share my screen?
Please.
If you all can see this drawing, can you, Mr.
You
Chairman?
make it a little bigger for my old eyes, that would be.
I think we both need to be bigger. Just one moment, please. Is that better? And
Yes.
I'll zoom in on
Okay, that'd be
particular
great.
images as I describe them.
Thank
This
you.
is the document we submitted to the board secretary for this application. And for the purposes of orienting everyone, this is a diagram of the site with Broad Street on the right-hand side, South Street across the bottom. The property sits on the corner of Broad and South. It is a three-story building with a one-story extension that moves back to the rear of the property. My client is seeking to lease 785 square feet of that one-story portion at the western end of the building, fronting on South Street. It is a space that's already demised and has a bathroom. What I'm showing you now is the proposed floor plan for the space. One would enter from the bottom off of South Street through an existing door into a waiting room. When admitted from the waiting room, someone would walk into an open office area from which there are accessible two meeting rooms, one at the rear, one at the front. There is the prescriber's office and the CEO's office as well. And in the back corner, there's the existing restroom and a small lab area for the taking of samples. Based on the square footage, the maximum number of people that can be in the space at any one time per the Uniform Construction Code is 16. So the total number of visits or clients that this facility would handle during a day would be spread out over the course of the day. That maximum number would not be here at any one time. Other than a sign on the exterior of the building, the applicant is not proposing to make any changes to the building exterior, the building height, or the building size or number of stories. The sign is conforming with the Newark land use ordinance with respect to its area, with respect to its location on the facade, and a rendition of that sign that was prepared by the signage company is displayed here in color, and above that is their mock-up of the sign on the building. And that would conclude my presentation of the project. I'm happy to take
Thank
any
you. Are there
questions.
any questions for the architect from the board? Questions for the architect from the board? Ms. Mejia, could you make me a co-host, please?
You are a co-host here.
Excuse me?
You are a co-host.
Oh my. Other questions for the architect from the board? Commissioner Comesañas and Ms. Mejia, I don't see the opportunities I have in the past when I'm a co-host. Could you check that for me, please? Commissioner Comesañas.
How many, I guess, clients fit in the waiting area at a time?
4.
Okay, and do you expect that to be enough space for the caseload? I mean, 30 people expected to come in and out?
Yeah, given the fact that those people will be spread out over the course of a working day, I think 4 in the lobby at any given time is reasonable, yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board for the architect? Commissioner Torres.
I have a question. Thank you, Chairman. I just want to know about the staff. How many rooms are there in the how many into staff? How many staff are going to be working there one day? Because they said there's going to be between 10 to 11 staff be working there, and you have like how many rooms or offices?
There are, well, I can tell you, the number of staff is an operational question that I can't answer, but what I can tell you is there are 2 private offices, and we have workstations set up within the space for 6 staff members at workstations. And then my understanding is that there will also be staff in the counseling rooms meeting with clients.
So how many rooms are there? I'm sorry, I doubt. Can you show the plan again, please?
Sure. Is the plan displaying?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you enlarge it? Yes.
Sure. So
Here.
the 2 private offices are on the left-hand side. If you can see the little white hand over them. And
Yes.
then there's a group room in the back and a group room in the front. My understanding, and the applicant can perhaps clarify this, my understanding is that there are both individual and group counseling sessions.
Yes.
Okay, so the counseling room, do you have the counseling rooms?
Those are labeled as group rooms.
Okay. Okay. You said that in the waiting room, you can only fit 4 people?
Correct.
Okay, what about if there's walk-ins? And then there will be walk-ins also, so they'll be waiting outside maybe?
Okay.
Ms. Jackson, no, we don't speak out of turn. The architect is the witness. If he can answer this question, he can. If he can't, he'll say he can't.
Yeah, I believe that's more of an operational question that Ms. Jackson would be better equipped to answer.
Okay, so there are gonna be six counselors, and you only have 2 group rooms there. So they're not really working all at the same time, they'll be working different days maybe? That you know of.
Again, with all due respect, that's an operational question. I'm executing the program that my client needs. So perhaps you can clarify that with the applicant.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Are there any other questions for the architect from the board? Questions for the architect from the board? If none, are there questions from the architect from the public? Sir, you have your hand raised. Once again, state your name and address for the record. You have to unmute yourself. Yep.
This is me. All right. Yeah,
You
Robert
have to state your name and address again for the record. I'm sorry.
Catrona, 14 South Street. My question is I currently see that Integrity House is doing something at that property. Is that temporary and you guys are just taking it over? Because I see that it looks like the 2 doors from the front, if I'm reading this right, it looks like one of the locations that Integrity is currently at the location at. I just wanted to know what was going on regarding that.
This location is currently vacant.
It is? Because I
Yes.
thought I saw people in there the other day. Maybe they closed it recently. I'm not sure.
I'm not aware of anybody occupying that space. When I visited it within the last month, it was vacant.
Okay, because it was like maybe like a day or 2, I saw something in there with Integrity and they have a sign.
Any other questions, sir? Questions for the architect?
I just want to make sure that that's, you guys aren't, conflicting something or something's different. I'm confused about the location. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the architect? Seeing none, thank you. Commissioner Torres, did you want to follow up with the applicant?
Yes, please, thank you.
We're gonna call back Ms. Jackson. Commissioner Torres? You have a question for Ms. Jackson, Commissioner?
Ms. Jackson, yes, it's in reference to the staff. I was just looking at the rooms that you like. I feel like you didn't have enough rooms for your staff there. You have like 2 rooms for like a group room. You say you're gonna have 6 counselors. Are they all gonna be working at the same day, or are they gonna be working different days, or you're just gonna have 2 counselors per day? Let's see. Okay.
Okay, the way the daily operation works is we are mandated by the state to have group sessions daily for our counselors that consist of between 12 and 14 per setting. So we have 2 group rooms, so there would be 12 to 14 in one room, and then the second room would consist of the same amount, and it would be on a scheduled basis. But the 6 counselors would be there in the area where the architect described to you, showed you, would be on the premises daily as well.
So the counselings are gonna be as groups, not individuals.
We have individual counseling on a scheduled basis, and we have the group counseling as well. The group counseling for each group will be from 9 to 12. Okay, and then in the afternoon, the counselor will utilize those rooms, on the scheduled basis to do the individual counseling for their.
Okay, in the reception room, it says you can only fit 4 individuals there, 4 clients. If you have walk-ins, a few walk-ins, if they come in, are they allowed to go in also, or do they wait outside?
No, they can come. They walk right in. They walk into the waiting room, but the clients that will be there daily will be on a scheduled basis. So when the clients come in, they will go to their scheduled assignment for that day, and once they're done, they leave the premises. So there's not at no given time that we have our regular admitted clients in the waiting room. When our clients enter the building, they're coming in for the assigned appointment, and they attend their meeting, their group meeting or individual, and then they leave.
I'm sorry. So the staff will be there. You're gonna have I'm not sure. You're gonna have a 1 psychiatrist and 1 MD, 1 reception, okay, and 1 lab test. You have offices for the psychiatrist and for the MD. Are they going to share the same room?
They're going to alternate. The psychiatrist is going to be there 2 days a week, and the MD is going to be there 3 days a week.
Okay. And the lab test I'm sorry.
That's okay. And the lab will be in the area that the architect explained will be.
And what is the lab test for?
Okay. With the outpatient, with my outpatient clinic, we are mandated by the state to test the client's urines daily. So daily, the lab tech would draw, receive a urine from the client, and she will have her designated area for collection of urinalysis, because they have to coincide with the client's treatment plan that is a part of our operational manual.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, so your clients will be required to submit a daily urine test?
Right now, our treatment plan is set up for the initial intake process, and depending on the results of their evaluation plan, the counselor will determine how often they will need to be tested.
And what's the most that they can determine they need to be tested?
Well, initially, right now our lab schedule is for initially, and we do what we call pop testing. If a client is, if they're suspicious of a client may have used a drug, but no more than twice a week, a client would need to be on their regular treatment plan.
Will your clients visit this site every day?
The client will come, well, it all depends on the treatment plan. because we have different level of care. We have the OP, which is a standard level of care, and then we have IOP. So a client that's on the OP, which is general monitoring, will come 1 to 2 times a week, and an intensive client will come 2 to 3 times a week, depending on their treatment plan.
And where do you do the lab work on premises?
No, we only do collection.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Jackson, who's going to be your next witness?
Okay, Mr. Steve Laden from Burgess Associates Planning.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, could you raise your hand, sir? Do you
Yes.
swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I so swear.
Can you state your name and give us your address for the record, please?
Sure, the name is Steve Lydon, spelled Lydon, and for the last 23 years or so, I've been at Burgess Associates, and our address is 25 Westwood Avenue in Westwood. The whole time I've been with Burgess, I have had a planning license. Before working with Burgess, I was a municipal planning director in a Morris County community for about a dozen years, and I have testified in front of boards such as this the whole time I've been here at Burgess.
And
Before the pandemic, I testified in front of your board several times, sir.
And is your New Jersey planning license currently in full force and effect?
Yes, it is.
And that Morris County, is that in the state of New Jersey? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sir, please proceed.
Sure. We've talked about the property. I think we've identified it as 1089 Broad Street.
And I'm sorry, let me just state for the record, we're going to accept this witness as an expert in the field of planning. I'm sorry, please proceed.
Thank you. For those keeping score, it's block 2824, lot 22. It's a rather large lot. It's got 3,300 square feet of lot area with 30 feet of frontage along Broad Street, and along South Street, there's 110 feet. You just saw the architect's plan, which had a plot plan, so to speak, which showed the entire property. There was an earlier concern about parking and congestion being brought into the area. There is no parking afforded to this building. There is no parking at all. So neither the staff members nor clients will be driving to the site. We are located in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, between Lincoln Park to the north and Jackson Park to the south. Your master plan, Newark 360, recognizes most of Lincoln Park's commercial properties front on Broad Street or other commercial arteries, and that is true in this case in particular. You've heard a lot about the proposed development. There are a couple briefly I'd like to focus on. A, we're not seeking site plan approval. There is no building expansion being sought. Applicant seeks to establish a substance abuse treatment center on the ground floor in the western one-story portion of the building. And as you heard from the architect, we're talking about 785 square feet of area of floor space. That floor space requires minimal changes. And you've heard the architect describe the internal space, so I won't bore the board. Basically, the building and the site are to remain the same if this application is approved. You've heard Ms. Jackson describe her operational information. The only thing I want to reiterate and focus on is that there are no medications stored on site, and nor is there any drugs are distributed on site. And the other factor that needs to be said again is that this is an outpatient clinic which will treat recovering addicts who are presently sober and have been for some period of time. So we are not dealing with abusers being brought, drug abusers being brought to the site. We do not provide any transportation. Patients must be able to travel to and from the facility on their own. And we think this site is particularly well suited with that regard due to the fact that it's a transit-rich area. There are a number of bus stops immediately proximate to this location. You've heard the hours of operation, you've heard the staff, you've heard daily operations. 30 or so clients in a day are anticipated. You've heard how operations will work, both group sessions and individual sessions, and that all counseling is done by appointment, whether individual or group. So yes, someone may come in off the street, so to speak, to find out if this facility can assist them or a loved one, but everyone outside of that, everyone coming to the site is going to be an employee or a person with an appointment. We are the C2 community commercial zone, and we're here because this use is not permitted in that zone. So we are seeking a D1 use variance. So as you've heard many times, we need to satisfy the statutory criteria that's established in the municipal land use law. Specifically, we need to demonstrate the positive criteria and the negative criteria. And in this particular case, we're dealing with an inherently beneficial use. And the definition, and for a long time, as you're probably aware, there was no definition of inherently beneficial use in the municipal land use law. But I'm guessing about 10 years or so now, we've had a definition for inherently beneficial use, and I think it fits this use to a T. A use which is universally considered of value to the community because it fundamentally serves the public good and promotes the general welfare. I think that ties into this application very well. We are not dealing with current drug users. We are dealing with people who have stopped using drugs, and we're assisting them in their efforts to stay clean, to use a word. Uses like tonight's oftentimes receive funding from the New Jersey Department of Human Services, Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services. And one might ask yourself, why would the state fund programs like this? They do because it fundamentally serves the public good and promotes the general welfare. The federal government also recognizes the local unmet need in Newark and Essex County, and just over a year ago awarded Newark a $2.9 million grant from the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And the purpose of this grant is very specific. It is to provide funding for community-based, comprehensive, trauma-informed behavioral health crisis services to individuals. And that's exactly what Ms. Jackson is seeking to establish on this property. So because we're an inherently beneficial use, we're required to follow the Sika versus Wall Township court case. And as you well know, inherently beneficial uses satisfy the positive criteria because they fundamentally serve the public good. With regard to the negative criteria, an applicant's burden is somewhat less than a non-inherently beneficial use. And the Sika case established a 4-part balancing test. The board must first identify the public interest at stake. The board must identify the detrimental effects that will follow from the grant of a variance. Third, and this is an interesting one, the board should determine whether any of the aforementioned detrimental effects can be reduced by imposing reasonable conditions on the use. So inherently beneficial uses are different, materially different than any other application that comes before a board here in New Jersey. There actually places an affirmative responsibility and duty onto the board to try to identify reasonable conditions which can mitigate some of the detrimental impacts which may be flowing from the grant of an approval. And then finally, the board must balance the positive and negative criteria and determine whether, if on balance, the use variance can be granted without causing substantial detriment to the public good and substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. The next part of my testimony, Mr. Chairman, will be to go through that Sika test. The care of the sick and those suffering from addiction rank very high amongst inherently beneficial uses. And just to give you an idea of that that range of inherently beneficial uses, a parking lot that parks school buses has been determined to be, by the courts, to be inherently beneficial because the school buses are necessary to transport children to and from school. That is probably not a very high inherently beneficial use, but a use that takes care of sick and those suffering from addiction is very high among the rankings of inherently beneficial uses. I'll point out that addiction is one of the great personal and societal crises of today, and anyone who is alive and paying attention to what's going on certainly knows that. And the need for this use is further demonstrated by the funding provided by both the federal and state government, and specifically to the city of Newark. I have a bunch of statistics which I don't think are very helpful, so I'm going to skip them over. I think the need is something we can all recognize. Identification of detrimental effects. Well, from a physical development standpoint, there are none, quite simply. There's no new site improvements or building additions. There's no impervious coverage being added to the site. There are no trees being removed. There's no debris of construction. So there's no new drainage or stormwater patterns that will be affected by this development. From the use itself, I believe there are no significant detrimental effects. Low activity. We're talking 30 to 40 clients over what has been described as an 8-hour day. So someone mentioned congestion, and I thought at first they may have been talking about vehicles, but since we don't have any vehicles and they probably weren't aware of that, or don't have any parking a lot serving this site, they probably were not aware of that. And as far as pedestrians, 30 to maybe 40 clients a day spread out over a full day. I believe there's plenty of sidewalk space to accommodate an additional 40 clients a day. That equates to about 4 to 5 clients per hour, just to break it out. So there's no congestion issue. There's no outdoor activity or people lining up. You've heard Ms. Jackson say people who have appointments are going to come into the waiting room and go where they're assigned to. There's going to be an unarmed guard making sure that there's no loitering in front of the site. Typical performance standards deal with noises, glare, dust, vibration, smells. None of that is going to happen. This is a counseling service, and it's relatively small. We're talking about 785 square feet. In terms of public safety, and I've heard a lot of concerns over that, there'll be no medication on site. There'll be no drugs prescribed from this site. It's not a methadone clinic, and all the clients, every one of them, 100%, need to be clean, as that term is used. Imposition of reasonable conditions is the third step in the SECA test. In some ways, I believe your city has already established reasonable conditions for this type of use. Substance abuse treatment facilities have been established as a conditional use in the C3 zone. There's nowhere where there's a permitted use, but they are allowed as a conditional use in the C3 district. And some of the conditions I think are interesting and actually support the idea that there won't be detrimental impacts on the generated from this development. First, they must be located on a collector or arterial road. Broad Street is identified as a collector, so we've clicked the first box. Bulk building requirements. Each outpatient substance abuse treatment facility shall provide a lobby or indoor waiting area for the indoor queuing of its clients, sufficient to meet its needs. Well, we have such a waiting area. It's indoors, and because everyone is coming on an appointment, we don't think there'll be any outdoor queuing of patients. Must follow the bulk regulations and design of the zone in which it is located. No changes are proposed to the building or the site layout. Conditions of approval is something that this board is charged with finding so that this inherently beneficial use can be approved. A couple of them should be the applicant should be, Ms. Jackson should be required to obtain any and all required licenses pursuant to New Jersey regulations and statute. Standards for licensure of outpatient substance abuse treatment facilities is one such standard that she should be that could be imposed as a condition of any approval. A copy of the licenses shall be placed on file with the Newark Office of Uniform Construction Code prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Comply with all maintenance and operational standards for such a facility pursuant to state statute and regulation. We should operate the facility a maximum of 8 hours per day between the hours of 7 and 7 p.m. from Monday through Friday. You've heard testimony that that's exactly what Ms. Jackson proposes to do, although not as long as a 12-hour day. And that facility hours on Saturday and Sunday and holidays shall be a maximum of 5 hours per day between 9 and 2. And you've heard testimony that that is what Ms. Jackson is seeking to do. Balancing the positive and the negative criteria is step 4. We believe the variance can be granted without causing substantial detriment to the public or substantial impairment to the intent of the zone plan. I don't need to repeat it, but there'll be no substantial detriment to the public good, no substantial impairment to the intent of the zone plan. Your master plan called 360 Newark, which I find as a planner an interesting name, talks about the Lincoln Park area. It mentions that most of the commercial areas are on the arterial streets, and it mentions there is a Lincoln Park South Gateway redevelopment plan, but it acknowledges that that plan is several years old, and it suggests that it has to be re-examined. So there are no specific recommendations in Newark 360 for this particular area of the city. I did review the master plan, did not see any specific language requiring this use. It has a general use regarding reducing homelessness through various housing solutions and supportive services. And I think this follows or qualifies as a supportive service. So in conclusion, I believe this use is inherently beneficial. It fundamentally serves the public good and promotes the general welfare. It will not result in any detrimental effects, either operationally or through construction. And it will not result in any substantial detriment to the public good or impairment to the intent of the zone plan. And for those reasons, Mr. Chairman and other board members, I urge you to approve this application. Thank you. That's my my direct testimony, sir.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board for the planner? Question, Commissioner Riviero.
Did I hear you correctly, or maybe it was a mistake that you said operations running from 9:30 to 1 Saturday and Sunday?
That's what the regulations suggest. There's a maximum time. My understanding is that the facility will be open on Saturday for a few hours, and it will not be open on Sunday or holidays. That's an operational question, which you probably should confirm through Ms. Jackson.
I understand now. Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes. Sir, you indicated a couple of times about the amount of people coming and going, and that we understand the waiting areas for 4, but they do, if I'm correct, and it may be an operational question, accept walk-ins, and that's something that can't be controlled. And we don't want people out on the street on a porch. So you could say that wouldn't be a factor.
I'm sorry, Chairman.
People standing out on the sidewalk. And your name is Steve-O? Steve-O is your name? What's your name?
Steve Leiden.
Okay,
Yep.
Steve.
I think we're in agreement with the city. We do not want or desire to have any loitering outside the facility. The goal is that when clients arrive, they'll enter the waiting area and go to the facility room that they've been assigned to. My understanding, and we can confirm this with Ms. Jackson, was that clients would be coming to this facility by appointment. And that the walk-ins would be for new clients or potential family members of potential clients who are trying to find out if this might be a facility for them. But that if you wanted to be treated, you would have to be a client. This is a long-term process. It's not like going in and getting something and then leaving. This is a process, and people need to be maybe not long-term, but people need to have clients and go through a program. And you heard from Ms. Jackson that there are different levels of care, and in order to be assigned a level of care, you have to go through an intake process. And that happens before you go to counseling services. So my understanding.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm sorry.
Chairman, maybe I could ask Ms. Jackson a little bit about this. Excuse me, Steve.
Sure, we'll come back. So Leiden was getting a bit removed from his planning expertise there.
Apologies.
Are there any other questions for the planner? Commissioner Comesañas.
I appreciate the way you gave your testimony and addressing those items. So thank you for that. I know you mentioned that this would be an inherent good to the community. I don't necessarily disagree that this type of program is, but how much good is too good? How many programs are too many programs for a community to sustain? Also considering that this is a major, or attempting to become a major commercial corridor, right? Again, so is the fact that there's 3, 4, 5, 6 other programs within a stone's throw, does that mean that maybe there's too much good in that area?
I certainly do not want to seem condescending with this answer. I think that would be a great thing for the city if there were too many, and these facilities went out of business because there was no problem to deal with. But as you heard Ms. Jackson say, there have been grants specifically to the city in the last year or so. The statistics, which I skipped over because they're horrible, indicate that this is a problem that's not going to be solved anytime soon. And we should only be so lucky that Ms. Jackson's program and Integrity House go out of business because there's no longer a need. There is a need, it's documented, and the state and the federal government are in fact funding some of these comprehensive outpatient services.
Thank you. Second question, with the public transportation, and you made a statement about there would be no cars because there's no parking. There's no parking in the Ironbound. There's a ton of cars. There's no parking in a lot of places. That's our number one concern that we get. The cars aren't coming to the parking lot. They're coming and going around the neighborhood. Do you still agree that with the statement that because there's no parking lot, there would be no traffic? Or would it be that because there's no parking lot, there's going to be people circling the block 4, 5, 6, 7 times looking for parking and creating more traffic?
I think it's the first case. It's sort of the reverse. If you build it, they will come. Well, if it's not there, they can't come to it. You heard Ms. Jackson testify that not only she, as a Newark resident, but many of the employees are from Newark, and they're encouraged to use the bus system. I can't tell you exactly where clients are going to come to this facility if it's approved, but we don't expect people traveling great distances. And because of the lack of parking, we think people can take buses.
Anything further, Commissioner Comesañas?
No, I don't think so.
Any other questions from the board for the planner? Questions for the planner from the board? Sir, you're familiar with the site, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How close is this site to the nearest other substance abuse treatment center?
Integrity House is actually on the same block, sir.
How far away would you say?
We're on South Street. They're on the opposite block. I would say, it's a short block, 250 feet.
Thank you. Any other questions for the planner? Are there questions from the public for the planner? Screen name Steve C. Mr. Cordova, could you turn on your camera and unmute yourself?
Yeah,
Sir?
yes, thank you.
Just state
Just
your name, again, I'm sorry, your name
Yep.
and address for the record, please.
Steve Cordova. My question is, so this is located on the corner of South Street and Broad Street, and Integrity House is literally across the street, about 20 feet, not 200 feet. Is that correct, Steve?
I was referring to the Integrity corporate headquarters, if you will, which is 250 feet or 200 feet away. Yes, you're
Not-
right. There is one.
Okay, there's one across the street, right? 20 feet. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. And also, your expectation is for the workers there, including the doctor who's going to be there 3 days a week, to not drive to cause further congestion in the area. That's your assertion, yes?
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And if it does, Mr. Cardozo, if that's pronouncing your name right, we'd be talking about one doctor 2 times a day, 2 times a week, and a psychiatrist 3 times a week. So it's very, very low impact. You have to talk when you look at the statute, it talks about substantial detriment. If you talk to traffic engineers, traffic varies every day of the week. You can go out and count cars at 8:30 Monday through Friday and get 5 different counts. So the idea that 1 or 2 more cars are going to have a substantial impact on the neighborhood is just not true. It's close.
Sure. Just one last question. Are you familiar with the area and the congestion that is already present in that area?
Yes. And when we were doing these meetings live, I sometimes was almost late to hearings because there is congestion. You're absolutely right. That's part of an urban environment.
Any further questions, Mr. Cordova?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Sir Robert, could you state your name and your address for the record, please?
Robert Catrona, 14 South Street. About the whole integrity thing, I had mentioned earlier that there was, I mistakenly, it's actually right next to the building. It's in the same structure, but it's the building, the address right next to where you're planning on doing the stuff. They have a pain treatment center that's Integrity. So they're literally right next to you, as well as across the street and as well as on Lincoln Park.
Is that a question?
Well, my thing is I just feel like it's
Is that a question? This is a time for questions.
I'm about to try to say it.
Okay.
Do you still not feel that there isn't enough stuff going on around here that's related to this, a similar idea? Like the whole concept, there's literally a thing right next to you, a building right at an Integrity House thing right next to you.
And I'm aware of that, and I do believe this use continues to be inherently beneficial, yes.
Okay, all right. I just,
Any other questions, sir? I guess not. Are there any other questions from the public for the planner? I see a hand raised, Samsung SMS908U. Can you unmute yourself? State your name and address for the record, please.
Owner occupier of 14 South Street. My name is Elizabeth Concepcion.
And Ms. Concepcion, your question for the planner, please.
There's an unoccupied area at 1129 Broad Street. Why was that not considered? It's a main thoroughfare. It has its own parking, and it would actually promote what she's trying to do publicly as people sit in traffic coming in and out of Newark.
If you can answer that, sir.
My understanding is that the site was selected because it met the needs of the organization. I do not know if they looked at that's the other site that you mentioned specifically or not, but this one does meet the needs of the applicant.
Any further questions, Ms. Cordova?
So my other question, I know everybody's concerned about parking. That's why I thought 1129 would be optimal to reconsider that instead of where they are now at 1089.
Well, I would just note that there's no requirement for a parking variance here. So although parking may be a concern, it's not something that this board has any jurisdiction over regarding as when it comes to this application. Do you have any other questions, ma'am?
Not in that particular order, but I thought 1129 would be ideal. It's been unoccupied for 20 years. That's an eyesore.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the public for the planner?
Nope.
Hearing none, Ms. Jackson.
Yes. I'm
do you-
here.
Thank you for being here. Do you have any other witnesses?
No.
Okay, now, okay, so now's the time that community members, objectors may, and anyone who supports the application.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I had asked if I will be able to
Oh,
ask
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Jackson.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Ms. Jackson, we're going to recall you, Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hall.
So, and again, I'm asking for clarity. Know that the waiting room has for 4 people. And there's a little concern from the community, and this was raised. We don't want people out on the street. So can you tell me how you're going to deal with that, given that, you know, there could be people that just go up? Is there any kind of plan of dealing with that, or how would you deal with that to avoid people?
Yes. Again, our primary operation will work according to appointments, but in the event that walk-ins come in, they will be given an appointment to come back to be assessed and evaluated for the program. But there's no waiting, and that was and honestly speaking, not having such a great, big waiting room, I felt will prevent having so much congestion on the premises as well. Because it's an outpatient facility, so I just wanted to be I'm setting ran by appointments only, and come and go, and not hold and heavy congestion of people at one setting.
Thank you very much. You answered my question, satisfied with what I was asking. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now is the time for objectors to make their statements. This is how we'll proceed. Anyone who wants to make a statement, I'd ask that you raise your hand. I will call on you. You'll have to submit to the oath. I'll ask you to state your name and address yet again for the record. It's important that we keep a record, and I know that gets burdensome, but that's how we can understand and know who you are on the recording. You'll have 3 minutes, and our clerk will advise you when your time is up. So is there anyone who cares to make a statement regarding this application? If so, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you. Ms. Cordova, you want to unmute yourself, please? You're muted.
Sorry, my apologies. I didn't raise my hand just yet. I was planning on going, not being the first person.
All right, I'm sorry. Am I mispronouncing your last name? Did you say your last name was Cordova, ma'am?
No, it's Concepcion.
I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
That's okay.
Ms. Concepcion, could you raise your right hand, please?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name, give us your address, and your statement for the record, please?
Elizabeth Concepcion, 14 South Street, Newark, New Jersey.
Thank you.
I just feel that it's not going to be utilized the way you guys think it's going to be utilized. It's already an issue of being here for 40 years. I haven't seen much of a change, but I've seen it got worse. I think Integrity House does a great job with what they have. So it's a competition with her. I'm not saying she's going to fail, but it's going to make it hard for this neighborhood to deal with more homelessness, which they're out there right now, down at the corner, right there. So I don't know how this is going to be controlled, how it's going to be handled. When you're owner occupied and not a renter, it's a whole different story. We're just trying to survive, and people coming into the neighborhood to have rehab or, fight an addiction. Yeah, I understand it, but being on this street itself is already congested. There's already issues as we have with parking, with the homelessness. I think 1129 would have been an ideal situation. I think where this is at 1089, because it faces South Street, it's going to be an eyesore to the neighborhood. I object to it, and that's for the record.
Thank you, Ms. Concepcion. And again, I'm
Okay.
sorry for mispronouncing your name.
That's all right. It's like Conception.
Are there any other persons who care to make a statement at this time? Any other persons require Steve C. And I will not call you Mr. Concepcion. You are Mr. Cordoba.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Could you turn on your camera, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Once again, raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, your address, and your statement for the record, please.
Yes, Steve Cordova, 17 South Street.
Your
And my
statement.
statement. Yes, so as a homeowner on South Street, I strongly object to placing this treatment center in this residential neighborhood. In addition to all the concerns that I previously mentioned, I do have a real concern for the security, for the congestion, the fact that there's already plenty of treatment centers in and around the stone's throw away from this proposed facility, and also the fact that there are 2 grammar schools, again, within 100 yards of this treatment center. I really object to having even more people that are not necessarily from the community. They may be, addicted people, but they are not necessarily residents of the area. So in fact, they will be bringing more people to that area that fit a certain demographic of addicted users. And I particularly do not want to deal with that in the future. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other members of the public who would care to make a statement at this time? If so, please identify yourself by raising your hand. I ask you to do so now. I see no raised hands. Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
you can make a closing statement, or you want to submit? How do you want to end your matter?
I wanted to make a statement, please.
Please.
Okay. As I stated earlier, my facility will not be a negative component to the neighborhood. I see it to be a great benefit to help combat this addiction crisis. And I don't feel that the services that we'll be rendering is in comparison with Integrity House, because they are on a different license scale versus ours. Ours is strictly outpatient, and theirs is residential, and which brings a bigger of a crowd versus a outpatient facility like mine. So I just want to say for the record that my agency does not compromise the neighborhood in any negative form at all.
Thank you. We're now in discussion. May I have discussion from the board, please? Commissioner Comesañas.
I believe the intention of Ms. Jackson is genuine. What I can't wrap my head around is the need for another one of these in that location. I do think that they're needed. I do think that it'd be nice to see some of these in Livingston and Short Hills where people can get services in those areas too, right? Because we've seen a lot of these applications. Recently, we've seen an upsurge in these applications, I guess, because of funding being out there. And, we these are programs that are needed. People like Ms. Jackson are valuable to communities and needed in our communities. It would be wonderful if she had the opportunity to do this in an area that doesn't have so many of these programs. With the direction that the North 360 master plan set this program, I'm sorry, the master plan, this program really isn't part of that schematic. And I do think that it's out of place for the direction that the master plan intended this area to go. So I think it's a good program. I think it's a valiant effort. I think it's the wrong location for this program at the moment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall.
I think somebody was before me, but I'll go. So I commend Ms. Jackson on what she's trying to do. I disagree with anybody that doesn't think that there's a need for more drug counseling programs in Newark and New Jersey. It's all you got to do is look. Yes, there are other treatment and counseling services in this area. Pretty much always has been, and that particular, and pretty much has been a problem in that particular. She's telling us that her licensing is different. And wants to do something different. She's telling us that not trying to get a bunch of people in, managing it by appointment. I believe there's a need, as she's doing it. Glad that there are treatment centers in the city of Newark where people in the city of Newark or in Essex County could get them easily. There was a concern I had about overflowing people being out on the street. She answered that for me and satisfied my concerns. I think there's a lot of good in it. I don't see the negative aspects. Yes, parking. Well, we got to do parking all over the city of Newark now, the way it is. So, long story short, I am in favor of this application.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Additional comments from the board regarding this application? Commissioner Riviero.
I hear the community, I hear the other board members. I'm in the fence for this one because I believe there is a need. I see that there are other locations nearby. We know about it. We are all North residents here. And I feel like her heart is in the right place for sure about this. I think we're not really mixing the clients she may have with the other facilities that buy drugs for their clients, for the people in need, because they, if I quote her right, she said there will be free and clean for 30 to 40 days. That's a long time. I feel like that's a decent time for somebody to be conscious of the decisions they're making, so they won't. I mean, you could always interact with other people, and other people may be able to influence you, but that could be happening a mile away, not just down the block. I'm not against it or in favor yet. That'll be all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments from the board? Other comments from the board? We certainly have a need for this. folks who are struggling with the disease of addiction are our children, our parents, or our family members, our loved ones. And these services, substance abuse treatment services, are clearly needed. I have two concerns with this. First, the location here, I think, saturates this area unfairly. To have another substance abuse treatment center 20 feet away, and then yet another 200 feet away, it's just an oversaturation of this area where this is not permitted. I recognize it's not permitted. I recognize it's an inherently beneficial use, but even though it's an inherently beneficial use, there are two other substance abuse treatment centers within 200 feet, one within 20 feet. And I just don't think yet another one in the same area really serves the population that we need to serve here. So I think the site is inappropriate because it overly saturates this area with a use that is not permitted, and that oversaturation does not inure to the benefit of the population it intends to assist. And then I have to say, I have some concerns about the program here. I didn't feel that the program was clear. I think, and I don't doubt Ms. Jackson's good intent, but I think her presentation did not clearly set forth some important things: the status of the license, what exactly the program that's going to be used here is, the status of the applicant, running this as a single entrepreneur is unusual. She certainly has the right to do that. But I think it, for me, underscores a need for more programmatic thought, planning, and expertise. So for those two main reasons, I can't support this application as currently constructed at this site at this time. Are there any other questions from the board? I mean, statements from the board? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hall.
make a motion to approve this application. Unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me.
It's application ZBA-24-27, 1089 Broad Street. We have an application for approval. May I have a second? We have an application for approval. May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a second. Call the roll, please.
Member Comesañas.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, just before you call the roll, let me just state again for the record, application, the resolution was proposed by Commissioner Hall, seconded by Commissioner Comesañas, just for the record. Call the roll, please.
Member Comesañas.
No.
Member Jones.
You're muted.
Yes.
Member Rivero.
No.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Torres,
No.
Vice Chair Mumford,
You're muted. Commissioner Monfort, you're muted.
Yes.
Chair Font.
No. Motion fails. Call the next case, please. Thank you.
We're gonna recall application ZBA 24 37.
Well, let's call the Sanford Avenue and call Broadway until next one.
Okay. So the time is 8:31 PM. The next item on tonight's agenda is ZBA 23 61, located at 389 Sanford Ave, block 4187, lot 8 in the West Ward. The applicant is Calvary Deliverance Christian Assembly, Inc. In the R3 zone, the applicant proposes the interior fit out of a vacant commercial space to be used as a church. Applicant is seeking a D3 variance for failing to meet conditions. C variances for insufficient lot width, insufficient lot size, insufficient side yard setbacks ×2, exceeding maximum impervious lot coverage, insufficient primary front facade transparency, insufficient street facing facade transparency, insufficient non-street facing facade transparency, and insufficient shade trees. Site plan approval is required. This application was previously adjourned from the September 12th hearing to this date.
Could everyone who is on the applicants and Council Kitchens, is your entire team in yet?
I see two members, Matt Flynn and
Who are you missing?
Vicente Varela, and he's the architect. I see Joseph Ware, who is the applicant or representative of the applicant. Okay, I see everyone. Thank you.
If they're not in, Ms. Mejia, please bring them in. The Board of Adjustment made the following findings of fact with respect to 389 Sanford Avenue. It's located in Newark's Valesburg neighborhood on the northwestern corner of the intersection of Sanford and Marion Avenues. Excuse me, the total site area is approximately 3,540 square feet. The surrounding land uses consist of detached 3-family dwellings and a low-rise multi-family dwellings. Are there any objectors to this application? If you're an objector to this application, I'd ask you to identify yourself by using the raised hand feature at the bottom of your computer screen or your mobile device. I'd ask you to do this now. I see no raised hands. Counsel, your appearance for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Calla Ketchens. I'm an associate attorney at Sauer Law Group. We represent the applicant, Calvary Deliverance Christian Assembly Incorporated. I'd like to first thank everyone for rescheduling this application to be heard. As stated, this is a pending application to do an interior fit out for a church within the existing core and shell of a vacant one-story former medical office at 389 Sanford in Newark, also known as Block 4187, Lot 8. This is in the West Ward and is zoned as a residential R3 residential 1 to 3 family townhouses. This church was founded in the Bronx in New York. They have since grown their congregation and have expanded into New Jersey, and they are seeking to make Newark their permanent home base. This evening, we will have testimony that will show that what the applicant is proposing to do will be a significant improvement on what is currently there, and that it will not be a substantial detriment to public good, and that is an inherently beneficial use for a surrounding community. A quick note on the notices, as requested by the chair in the last meeting, we provided notice with the updated Zoom link by mail and signage, which was done on October 12th. We are in receipt of city water and sewer department memo from dated October 23rd, and the city planner memorandum from September 5th, and the revised city engineer report also dated September 5th, and the revised completeness review dated March 11th. I'd like to call my first witness, Richard Addison, civil engineer.
Mr. Allison, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your name, your address, and your relationship to this application, please?
My name is Richard Adelson. I am with the firm of Frank H. Lair Associates. I'm a principal there. We are the civil engineers for this application. This plan was prepared under my responsible charge. I am a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey and many other states. I have a Bachelor of Science and a Master's of Science in Civil Engineering from New Jersey Institute of Technology, and I have appeared
Welcome home.
board many times.
Welcome home. And is your architectural license in the state of New Jersey in full force and effect?
Yes, it is.
We will note this son of Newark as an expert in the field of architecture. Counsel?
Engineering, please.
I'm sorry, Al, I know I really offended you by
It's
daring.
okay. It was well meant. It was well meant.
Wow, I am so sorry. And I'm sorry, and I apologize to the architect too.
He was probably more offended.
Yeah, we recognize this witness as an expert in the field of engineering. Counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Addison, are you familiar with the project and the site?
Yes, I am.
Can you please go through the plans and describe the site improvements proposed?
So I'd like so the set of plans that are on my screen have been modified slightly. I'll flag the changes from what was submitted to the board. Mine are some dimensional stuff that we picked up as we were going through this. Would you like to mark this set of drawings consisting of 7 sheets as an exhibit?
Are there changes to each of the 7 sheets?
There's nothing else. There's the word exhibit on the bottom of the corner of the page. So yes.
Okay, and I just ask you to note for the record specifically what the changes are. Counsel, I'd ask you to get a copy of these revised plans to our board secretary as soon as possible. Okay?
And
we'll mark this A1.
We'll mark this
7 pages.
A-1. Okay, and while we're marking, I have a bird's eye view that was prepared and the signature dated today. Is a Google image looking north.
Are you sharing your screen yet?
No, I guess I'm not.
That's correct.
That would be very helpful, wouldn't it? How about now?
Keep trying. Keep working on it.
Right. Come on. Behave. Go.
There you go.
How about now? There it goes.
Good.
Okay. So this is a bird's eye image of the neighborhood looking north up Sanford Avenue at the intersection of Marion. Google indicates the image is dated in 2024. I'm going to mark this as A2.
So marked.
Okay. So we are looking at the building at the corner of Marion and Sanford, the light gray build, the 1-story gray building.
Could you enlarge that a little bit, please?
How's that?
A little bit. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going.
Okay.
Okay. So we are looking at the gray building at the corner of Marion and Sanford. You'll see that it's in a mixed neighborhood, multifamily and primarily 2-family residential units. Sanford being a county road, just down the road. You have some larger apartment buildings, a nursery school, and as you go down, I believe you reach to Springfield Avenue. Marion is a one-way street heading east down towards Sanford. Interesting. They spell Sanford wrong when it gets to Newark. Oh well. So the site is a 3,500 square foot site. currently located on that site is a 1,925 square foot building, with the remainder of the site being primarily impervious. Turning to our sheet SD2. You see the building on the site. Building occupies the site fronting on Sanford and Marion, with a small parking lot or slash driveway in the rear of the building. The building, as we understand it, was previously used as a medical office. But as I said, the entire site is paved. The proposed improvements on the site are reworking the existing pavement area on the west side of the site to provide for 2 on-site parking spaces, 1 standard space and 1 handicap space. Those would be pull-in back-out spaces. We would also provide for a handicap ramp to provide access to the building that the architect will describe in more detail. Other improvements are the front entrance gets reworked, and obviously the whole building gets reworked because the building is in desperate need of some TLC. Sidewalks will get redone in accordance with the city engineer's comments. We'll also comply with the lighting that they've had. Well, we'll get to that in the next page. Driveway is some relief. The driveway is 13.72. The previous plan had that labeled at 18.72, but 13.72 is the correct width. I believe 12 foot is what's required. The 13-foot width is existing and works with the skew on the driveway. So we would request that more or less that stays as is. Moving down to the landscape plan. Grading and drainage. We are proposing to collect the roof water, run it into a new infiltration basin as requested by the engineering department. We will verify and do some soil investigation to verify that drains and perks, and we will work with the city engineers if we have to find an alternate solution. Likewise, we will address their comments that we have the existing pavement that runs off the property from the driveways, and we'll provide some sort of collection system to address that as well. Let me just backtrack before Mr. Trafficante hollers at me for not addressing the fence. So there are fences that are our neighbor's fences. You can look on the, as I'm outlining with my, and actually let me take a pen here. We have a fence that runs along our property line. That is our neighbor's fence that does encroach on the city right of way. It is not our fence. We can talk to them about moving it for you, but it's really not our fence to move. And it comes down our property line and then turns and connects to the fence that the neighbor has on the frontage. That same condition exists. Too far. Sorry about that. That same condition exists along Sanford, where the fence runs down and then turns onto the neighbor's property as a continuous fence. So that does need to be addressed, but I don't know that it's ours to address. So I defer to the city for guidance on that, to the board. For landscaping, we are proposing 2 new street trees on the plan. I'd like to amend that to 3 street trees because as I was looking at this, when I went out to visit the site, the existing 12-inch tree that is there is dead. So I'd like to propose that gets replaced as part of this to provide the three street trees on Marion and 1 street tree on Sanford. Also, as Mr. Hazel pointed out, on the architect's plan, they show a row of bushes along the residence to the west. In looking at our plan, I believe we can accommodate that. Therefore, I would propose that we modify our plan in our final version to provide a landscape strip between the fence to the residence to the west as well, and our parking to give us the ability to plant a small strip, probably on the order of about 4 foot. Mr. Hazel references 5.75 in his memo. I think there's a difference between the two surveys. I believe our survey is correct, and we'd follow it that way. While we're on this page, we are providing for some building mounted lighting as well as a pole light. That would be those will be comply with city ordinance, with the ordinances. And that really is all we have. For relief, I'll backtrack. We are proposing a garbage dumpster at the rear, as I said, as well as the handicap, and those will roll out. Relief, we are looking for relief for parking. We only provide for 2 parking spaces on site. There are 40 seats proposed in the church. That would require 4 spaces under the ordinance. There is room for parking 2 or 3 cars along the frontage of the property on Marion Street. I believe that hits that. For the engineer's review letter, I spoke to Mr. Trafficante earlier today. Fence, so I defer to Mr. Trafficante and the board for guidance on the fence. We talked a little bit about drainage. I think we're in agreement on drainage and we can accommodate that. The one thing I did notice while I was prepping for this meeting is Mr. Trafficante asks for a stop bar at the driveway. Given that this is a pull-in back out driveway similar to the driveways in the neighborhood, I don't think that is necessary and would ask that he waive that requirement. Other than that, I don't think I have any issues with Mr. Trafficante's comments.
Would you be able to speak on or testify to the sanitary sewer line, if we'll be able to reuse that or not for the city water and sewer report?
Council, I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Would you be able to speak to the sanitary sewer line, whether or not we
Yes,
use it?
absolutely. We will most definitely inspect the sanitary sewer, and if it is in need of replacement, we will do so. Likewise, we will show the locations and verify the water lines, and I believe if the water line is lead, that probably also needs to be replaced.
And would you be able to also speak to the sprinkler system if it's required on this property?
I will defer to the architect for that.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the engineer from the board? Mr. Trafficante?
Yes, sir.
Trafficante, raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and title for the record, please.
My name is Charles Trafficante. I'm a principal engineer as well as a professional engineer. I work for the City of Newark Department of Engineering. My license is active and in good standing with the State Board.
Mr. Trafficante?
Thank you. Mr. Adelson.
Yes, sir.
In the engineering report to the board dated September 5th, 2024, you've addressed comment number 2, item Roman numeral 4, regarding the fence. You testify that belongs to the neighbor and not yours?
That is correct.
All right. On page 3, under item 2, survey, Roman numeral 5. Survey shows an existing canopy from the existing building and block curb from the existing driveway that encroach into the public right of way for Marion Avenue. Applicant property owner of subject lot 8 shall provide testimony to the board as to what approvals, easements the current property owner of subject lot 8 have obtained from the city of Newark to allow for these existing structures to encroach into the public right of way for Marion Avenue. Should no approvals, easements exist, the applicant property owner for the subject lot shall provide additional testimony to the board as to the future disposition of this existing canopy and curb encroachments into the public right-of-way and the provisions by the current property owners to indemnify the city of Newark from any future or current litigation associated with these existing canopy and curb encroachments, should the board approve this application. Can you address that comment?
I can. It looks to me like it encroaches about 6 inches. Looking at photographs of the building, I believe we need to do some work on that canopy. Thus, I would assume we can trim that canopy back that 6 inches to make it non-encroaching. I will hedge that with an acknowledgement from the architect. He's nodding to me, so he's confirming that we can in fact trim that back to 6 inches without any detriment to the application. So we will just remove the canopy encroachment from your right of way.
What about the existing curb that extends from your parking lot in the rear? That sits high, encroaches into the public right of way according to the survey.
We can remove that as well.
Okay, all right. And then last question, well, 2 more questions. Okay, page 3, item 3, parking and traffic, Roman numeral 2. You've already mentioned, all right, 4 off-street parking spaces are required. Applicant is proposing to provide 2 spaces in tandem, which only count as 1 because they're in tandem. Therefore, a parking variance is required. Applicant shall provide testimony to the board as to how they plan to address the 3 missing on-site parking spaces. Should the board choose, a parking variance must be granted to the applicant. Can you address that concern, Mr. Allison? How does your client plan to address the 3 missing on-site parking spaces? Where do you find them?
I would assume that while the 2 spaces only count as 1, that 1 space will be used by the Reverend. Therefore, it will be a used space. As I indicated, there is opportunity for on-street parking on Marion on both sides of the street. I also understand that the church does have an agreement with the school down the block if additional spaces are needed. Although when I was in the neighborhood, there was parking available. I don't know what it looks like on a Sunday morning because I have not been there on a Sunday morning.
At
But
least 3
I would
spaces.
assume that the majority of the members for this congregation will come by mass transit. So I think we are okay with parking.
All right. So you feel that 3 parking spaces, on-street parking spaces could be found within a 300-foot radius of the site
Yes.
on any given day?
Yes.
Okay. All right, last question. You provided testimony outside of item number 5, Roman numeral 16, which has to do with the stop sign and the stop bar. Can you comply with all the other comments in the engineer department's report to the board dated September 5th, 2024?
I believe we can.
That's a yes. All right. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do you accept all those statements that your engineer just agreed to as conditions of approval?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board for the engineer? Questions for the engineer from the board? Questions for the engineer from the board? Council?
No further questions. I'd like to call my architect, Vincent Varela. I apologize if I'm not saying your first name.
Mr. Varela, is that right?
Yes, Varela.
Varela, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, give us your address and relationship to this application, please.
Sure. My name is Vicente Varela. I live at 584 Main Avenue in Passaic, and I'm the architect.
Thank you. Mr. Varela, is your New Jersey architectural license currently in full force and effect?
Yes.
Have you appeared before this board in the past?
Yes, I have.
Good. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Did you graduate from NJIT?
I did, yes.
Oh, there you go. You're 3 for 3. Welcome home.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll accept Mr. Varela as an expert in the field of architecture. And again, I apologize for maligning you, calling you, suggesting you were an engineer earlier.
No, that's fine. Okay, may I share my screen?
Yes.
please.
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
You can enlarge it, but help.
I can enlarge it.
You could just zoom in a little bit.
Okay. All right, so let me see. This is the existing building here. The existing building is a steel and concrete structure with non-load bearing CMU interior walls. Previously, the building was used as a dentist's office, but the property has been vacant for well over a decade, with some of the original dentist chairs still there. You can see here the existing configuration. So there's a lot of CMU walls everywhere here. It's going to require a lot of demolition and a lot of work and a lot of money to get this functional. I believe although the building has seen better days, I believe the existing structure is salvageable and offers a distinct architectural style that's worth preserving and updating. The proposed to achieve the proposed transformation, each floor will need to be completely gutted. Will need structural repairs as necessary, followed by a comprehensive fit out. The exterior will likewise need extensive work. Yeah, so you can see this is how it looks now. And it's been this way for well over 10 years. If you go on Google and you go back, you'll see that it's been this way for a very long time. My client has recently acquired the property with plans to convert it into a church that aims to uplift the local community. The church, which has roots in Ghana and a headquarters in the Bronx, now seeks to establish presence in Newark. Okay. The primary goal for the first floor, this one here on the right side, the primary goal for the first floor is to create an intimate and welcoming worship space. There will be two entrances, one at the front utilizing the existing stairs, and another at the back featuring a new ADA compliant ramp. The front entrance will have a large vestibule space over here that includes a unisex ADA restroom. Continuing through the vestibule, one arrives at an open assembly space. The assembly space will feature a stage back here that accommodates the pulpit and singers with an ADA ramp for accessibility over here. Behind the stage to the left, there will be an office for the Reverend, and directly behind the stage will be a vestibule that leads to the rear exit and stairs providing access to the basement. These stairs will need to be rebuilt to code and will have a chairlift so that everyone is welcome downstairs. In the basement is envisioned as a flexible transitory space that can be used for gatherings such as breakfast before mass or small group meetings. To support this, the basement will include 2 additional restrooms, a kitchen here, and an open area for communal use. There is an existing entrance to the basement from the front with stairs leading to Sanford Street. The gate at the top of these stairs, which serves as a deterrent to loitering, will be retrofitted with a push bar and closer, ensuring functionality and security. So you can see there's an existing gate on the side here. So I think it would be good to keep it just to avoid people going down the stairs. Okay. The building's exterior is currently an attractive brickwork. The though much of it has unfortunately been painted over. We plan to power wash the brick to restore its original appearance and make any necessary repairs. In addition, we aim to enhance the facade with architectural features such as a base, pilasters, wall cladding, light boxes, and cornice moldings. These improvements will provide a modest yet appealing design that harmonizes with the surrounding neighborhood. Okay.
Is there a view that shows the side of the building a little bit more further down in your face?
The side?
Yeah, with the lighting.
Let's see. Well, let me just bring this over here. Yeah, I mean, I'm not showing the lights and the rendering itself, but I am showing them here and the elevations. So you can see these are pilasters here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm putting lights on those pilasters that'll have a travertine stone veneer. And yeah, so that'll be washed with those sconces. I'm also looking to do a LED light box here with a cross and put in some windows on the side. Also at the front, right now this is a storefront window, but I would put some frosted glass, and same thing, do like an LED lit cross. I think it looks, you know, I think it's attractive. You know, I think it's in keeping with the original design, but it's a modern upgrade to it.
And can you provide testimony about if a sprinkler system is required in the building or on the property?
A sprinkler system?
Yes.
Yes, we will need to install a sprinkler system.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board for the architect? Questions for the architect from the board? Commissioner Torres.
Thank you. Will there be a kitchen
Yes,
station in the area?
yeah, and in the basement, we're looking to install a kitchen in the basement, which would really be mostly used for like a breakfast before church. You know, the church is very much about community, so they would want to offer breakfast before everybody goes back upstairs for the service.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Further questions for the architect? I have two questions. In the back of the building, outside, that appendage there, I'm looking at one on the left. Yeah, if you can go to the, yeah, what is that?
That's the ADA ramp.
Okay.
Yeah, because in the front, you know, I'm looking to.
And what's above that?
This is an existing roof that's there.
An existing roof, and you know, I'm asking because it kind of gives. I wondered if it was a solar panel. It is not. Is that correct?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Any further questions for the architect? And that follows over on the roof. That is not a solar roof, correct?
No.
Okay. I guess the planner will speak to the variances, correct? If are there questions from the public for the architect? Questions from the public for the architect? If so, please please raise your hand. I ask you to do so now. I see no raised hands. Counsel?
Thank you. No further questions for Mr. Borello. I would like to call Matt Flynn as the planner.
Mr. Flynn, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, give us your address, and relationship for the application.
Yeah,
And
Matthew
for this
Flynn.
application. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Matt Flynn, Flynn. I'm the professional planner for this applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. I'm glad you came out of the dark there.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Mr. Flynn, is your hunting license in the state of New Jersey currently in full force and effect?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn is well known to this board. We'll accept him as an expert in the field of planning. Counsel?
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, are you familiar with this project?
I am.
Can you please go through the variances and site?
Sure. Just by way of quick background, I do have an exhibit that I can just put on the screen. I think we're on A2 now, if I'm not mistaken. So how many pages do I have here? So exhibit A2 is just a 5-page exhibit consisting of some drone photographs taken by my office. September 12th, 2024. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Great. So I don't know if you can see my cursor, but obviously the subject property is the property on the corner here. Currently this blue painted building. It's a existing single-story building. We're essentially keeping the mass and scale that you see out there today. The general layout, the way it works with the parking and the arrangement of the building, essentially staying exactly the way you see it on the screen here. What I wanted to point out here is that, like our engineer mentioned, there is some variety in the neighborhood in terms of building massing. We do see some more massive, well, I wouldn't use the word massive, but some greater massing of some multifamily buildings, as well as some detached residential dwellings as well. One of the nice things that we have here, by keeping the existing building exactly where it is, we have this built-in spacing between the adjacent residential dwellings. This green area to the right is actually on the adjacent property, but obviously this parking area on the other side is on our property. So there is adequate building-to-building separation, light, air, open space. Going down to the second page. Sort of looking the other way now, again, just showing the nice variety in terms of what we have on the ground in this particular neighborhood. We're not breaking up a predominant detached residential fabric. We are sort of right in the middle of a lot of different types of buildings. The nice thing about keeping this building as a part of this application is that if you did have an as-of-right residential building, you could go up to 3 stories or 36 feet, I believe, is the height limitation. I'm just double checking that. Whereas we are significantly below that. We're at 1 story and 13.3 feet. Whereas if you were a permitted residential building, you could go up to 3 stories and 30 feet, or 36 feet, sorry. Just flipping along here to sheet 3, just again showing the back of the existing building. We have some nice mature vegetation there that provides greenery and some buffering. Just giving the board another view now on page 4. And finally, just a top-down view on page 5 of this exhibit. Again, I think this outlines the nice building-to-building separation. Regardless of what street you're looking from, we're not going to have a building that's crammed in between other buildings. Again, the mass of the building, I would say, is quite small in terms of a house of worship, but also in terms of what you could get here with a permitted residential building. And I'll get into that more in just a moment. Just to tie all of this into the statutory criteria, we are seeking a D3 conditional use variance. Houses of worship are permitted in the zone as a conditional use. There's a list of conditions that we have to meet. We meet all but one of those conditions, and that condition is the 15-foot buffer between the parking area and the residential use adjacent to us. Again, we're keeping the arrangement exactly the way it is. We're not introducing any additional parking area, and we're actually enhancing that buffer by adding vegetation in there. So it is going to be an improvement despite the variance. So just to go through what the applicant needs to prove in order to justify that relief, even though this is a conditional use variance, this is an inherently beneficial use. The public interest at stake here is freedom of religion, a fundamental constitutional right. And therefore, we do look at the Sika test, which applies to inherently beneficial uses. It's a simple 4-prong test. Prong number 1 would be to identify the public interest. This is a use that enables the applicant to fulfill its religious mission, purpose, etc. Prong number 2 would be to identify any potential detrimental effects that could ensue from the variance. I think we heard from the architecture, we're going to be beautifying not only the facades, but also the grounds of the property. We heard from our engineer in terms of circulation, lighting, etc. In terms of traffic and parking, I think that's been addressed. I think that the parking is adequate considering the fact that we do have that off-site arrangement that was addressed by our engineer. Also the fact that this is a relatively small scale house of worship. And I'll get more into that variance in just a moment. Prong number 3 would be to consider whether imposition of reasonable conditions would ameliorate any detrimental effects. This is really where the interactive process between the board and applicant comes into play. If the board feels like it's appropriate, we can certainly impose reasonable conditions to ensure that any detriments would not occur. Prong number 4 would be a simple balancing test, weigh the positives and the negatives, and determine whether on balance the grant of the variance would cause a substantial detriment to the public good. In this case, again, we're keeping the existing building, we're keeping the existing massing, the existing arrangement of building and parking, and I think on balance the clear weight is clearly on the positive side. We're taking a long-standing vacant building, bringing it back to functional use. I think the beautifications of the property are certainly going to be to the benefit of the community. And again, in terms of the massing of the building, you could get a larger building here as of right, both in terms of building coverage and building height, if this were an as of right residential building. So I put all that on the record just to say that in terms of the Sika test, I think this is a clearly beneficial project with little to no detriment to the community. In terms of C relief, we are requesting 4 variances. 3 of those are for facade transparency. And I think in terms of those, I can fall back on the architect's testimony. Again, the beautification of all of the building facades. This is going to blend nicer into the residential fabric. Whereas I think my exhibits show that as of right now, this does sort of stand out as an eyesore on an intersection. In terms of the parking variance, we are requesting, I guess, in light of what Mr. Trafficante said, we're proposing technically 1 tandem spot. Functionally, it's 2 spaces, but I guess technically we'll call it 1, whereas 4 spaces are required. I think just to justify the C relief, we can look to the C2 balancing test, whereby the benefits of the application as a whole substantially outweigh any detriments. We look to the municipal land use law, the purposes of zoning, purpose A, promotion of the general welfare, again, providing an inherently beneficial use in a zone where this has been deemed appropriate. Purpose G, variety of uses in appropriate locations. I think the same rationale applies. Purpose I, desirable visual environment, again, beautifying the building facades, adding landscaping, etc. Purpose M, efficient use of land, again, keeping the building massing exactly the way it is, not proposing an enlargement of the parking or the building. In terms of the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. To focus on that parking variance for a second, This isn't a residential zone, so conceivably that does open up this use to being utilized by people in the immediate neighborhood. We are in the R3 residential zone, where we do have that built-in residential base that would have the option to walk here. However, there are many bus stops right along South Orange Avenue, which is a short walk away from the site. So I think this is certainly a walkable and well served by mass transit, to the extent that the parking relief is not going to have a detrimental effect on the neighborhood. And having said that, we are talking about 3 parking spaces. Technically, really, we're talking about 2 spaces, and we heard from our engineer that there are spaces available on the street, as well as by virtue of that off-site arrangement that the applicant has. So all said, I think this is an appropriate application. It's really an appropriate reuse of an existing building, keeping what's there, improving upon it, and making it more aesthetic in this residential neighborhood. And I think it'll blend in better with the new facades and landscaping. So with that, I think I can open myself up to any questions.
Council, any further questions for this witness?
No further questions.
Okay, any questions for the planner from the board? Question from the planner for the planner from the board. Mr. Flynn, why shouldn't I be concerned about how very undersized this location is for this use?
Sure. So if this were a new subdivision, you would require 10,000 square feet for a house of worship. In this case, because this is not a new subdivision, it's technically not a lot area variance. But again, I think in light of that, if you had a 10,000 square foot lot, you would be able to get a much larger house of worship. Whereas in this case, we have a building that's responsive to the lot. It's obviously not a building that takes up the entire lot. We have some building coverage to spare, actually. So I think we can look to the fact that this is a small scale house of worship, and potentially not one that would be anticipated on a newly created 10,000 square foot lot.
Do you think we have to be concerned about this flock growing, Mr. Flynn?
What do you mean by that?
The church growing.
Well, it can only grow as we have 40 seats, so that's pretty much a built-in limit.
Thank you. Any further questions for the planner? Are there questions from the public for the planner? If so, please use the raise hand feature and we'll call you in. Questions from the public for the planner? Seeing none, council?
I'd like to call my last witness, Reverend Joseph Ware. He is a representative of the applicant. Mr. Ware, you're on mute.
Mr.
Hi.
Ware, could you raise
My name is Reverend Joseph Ware.
Could you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir. I swear.
Please state your name, give us your address and relationship to this application, please.
My name is Reverend Joseph Ware. I live in 4235 Wilder Avenue, Bronx, New York. I'm a church administrator, and this church has been in existence since 1989. We have our headquarters in the Bronx, and by the grace of God, the church grew to the point people were coming from New Jersey. So we saw the need of establishing a branch in New Jersey, and then we started a branch in New Jersey. By the grace of God, the church was growing, and COVID hit. When COVID hit, a lot of people we started meeting online, and some of the members also moved out of state. So it got to a point that after COVID, we saw the need for us to find a place to worship, and we started looking for a place to worship. We couldn't find anything till we located this place, and we did our very best to purchase this building. And when we purchased this building, we thought we were going to start church right away. We didn't know there were a whole bunch of stuff we have to go through. We have to go through the zona approval and stuff. So we decided to fall on the Sounder law firm to assist us. And this is where we are now. And we are ready to do any changes that the professionals are recommending that we should be doing so that we can have the church over there. And also we are ready to help the community to provide so many services that the community needs. Right now, when you come to the Bronx, we have a food pantry that we are running here that all the people in the community, those who don't have food, every Saturday, once a month, we do food pantry. They come there to get food and take it to their homes to go and then cook. So we are looking forward that if they accept us in that neighborhood, and looking at the way people have been talking to us in that neighborhood, anytime that we go there, they keep asking us, well, when are you guys coming? When are you guys opening?
Reverend,
So when
Reverend,
everything is said and done,
Reverend,
yes, sir.
I'm experiencing the eagerness with which you wanted to start that church by the eagerness with which you have started your testimony. I'm going to ask you, you have a very fine lawyer here who has a case she wants to make sure she presents, and I'm going to ask you to listen to her questions and answer her questions. Counsel?
Thank you, Reverend Ware. Can you please go through the hours that your congregation will be feeding?
We are going to meet on Sundays. We're going to meet from 11 to 1. And if the church grow up to a certain point that if we have to have 2 services, then we're going to start from 9 to 1. The first session will be from 9 to 11. And then the second session will be from 11 to 1. But at the moment, we're going to have just one service because we don't have a lot of people right now. And then Tuesdays, we are going to have a Bible studies from 7 to 9. And then Friday also, we are going to have a Friday prayer session.
Does the church plan on having any special events?
Yeah, we're going to have special events like weddings. If there is a need for us to perform weddings or funeral, it's going to be on Saturdays.
What other activities do you foresee? I know you touched on potentially, well, you do food banks in the Bronx, but what other types of activities do you foresee for the community?
Other than these that I've mentioned, I don't think we have any further services that we are going to organize.
And just to confirm, your congregation currently has about 40 members? Or
they are not even 40 yet.
They
are not 40 yet. We are around 20 plus, but they are not 40 yet. But we are trusting God that when we start, the church will grow.
And does your church have the capabilities, or would be willing to have capabilities for any sort of virtual technology for sermons?
Yes, we do. We are always airing on Zoom, so we can on YouTube, and we're gonna introduce the same thing in this branch as well.
Thank you. No further questions.
Are there questions for Reverend Ware from the board? Questions for the Reverend from the board? Reverend Ware, where in the Bronx is your church located now?
737 Concourse Village West, Bronx, New York. Zip code is 10451.
Right across from the courthouse.
Yes, please.
Any further questions for the Reverend? Questions from the board? Hearing none, are there questions from the public for the Reverend? If so, please use the raised hand feature and we will identify, so we can identify you and bring you in. Please use that now. I see no raised hands. Counsel, you have any further witnesses?
No more witnesses.
I will now ask if there are any members of the public who care to make a statement regarding this application. If you do, Please identify yourself by using the raised hand feature located at the bottom of your computer screen or your telephone. If you're on the or your mobile device, I should say. If you're on a mobile device and on a telephone, please press *9 and we'll know that you want to make a statement. I ask you to do this now. I see no raised hands. Council?
Thank you. Just brief closing remarks. Churches have been, and especially in this country, a third space for many people. And a third space is just a space to gather and have community resources. And as we see with Reverend Ware's testimony, is that people are really enthusiastic to have this space in the community, and they're seeking out these third spaces. I think especially after the COVID lockdowns. So this is a new church. They're in the Bronx. They want to expand, and they want to expand to Newark, which is really exciting. I think just furthers the planning goals of development. And of course, development can be big and small, and small developments are just as important as the big ones, especially for the community. So for all of these reasons, I think that this is an inherently beneficial development. And then as our experts have shown, we don't believe that this will be a substantial detriment to the public good or to the intent or purpose of the zoning plan. So with that, I respectfully request that the board approve our application. Thank you.
Thank you, council. We're now in discussion. May I have discussion? Commissioner Hall.
This is pretty straightforward. The building was vacant for a long time. They're going to upgrade it, beautify it. And I'm glad that they are using it as a church. My community is positive for our city. Not only is church, they want to be active in the community and feed folks. That's a good thing. There's a lot of people right now hurting, living in poverty, and nobody's talking about it, but it exists. I wish his church grows to 40, and then they go get an even bigger church. And, I'll be praying for you, Reverend. And
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Comisanis.
It was hard to ask questions. Congratulations for being so well prepared. I think it was a great presentation, a nice design, and I think that community. I used to be an aide in the West Ward, and that's a vibrant community. It's where homeowners and renters kind of start to mix together. I think it'll be a great opportunity to bring the community together at a central location in that area. It's also convenient for the seniors that live a stone's throw away. So strongly in favor of this application. It's beautiful, and great job taking the brick cues from the other buildings and stuff and incorporating them in your design.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Riviera.
I guess I won't be repeating the other board members. So I will be in favor of this application. I'm glad you can consider Newark. I'm glad you're coming to us. And I hope you help the community as much as you help the others around the other locations you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other board members who care to make a statement at this time? If none, may I have a motion, please? Commissioner Riviera.
Motion to approve ZBA-23-61 located at 389 Sanford Avenue in Newark.
We have a motion for approval. Commissioner Rubio, may I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Jones. Call the roll, please.
Member Hall.
yes.
Member Hardesty. Member Comesaña.
Yes.
Member Jones.
Yes.
Member Rivero,
Yes.
Member Torres,
Yes.
Chair Alfano.
Yes. Although I am concerned about the lack of shade trees, but I'm sure that there'll be a contribution to the tree fund. Isn't that correct, Council?
We will work on either a contribution or shade trees.
Yes, okay, good. May I have a motion for site plan
Motion,
with those conditions?
motion,
With conditions, Commissioner Gomez?
motion with condition, Commissioner Gomez.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. A motion, Comesaña, second, Riviero, call the roll, please.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Comesañas,
Yes.
Can't hear, Ms. Mejia.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Rivero,
Yes.
Member Torres,
Yes.
Chair Alfano.
Yes, congratulations, your application and site plan have been approved. Thank you. Good evening. And it sounds like Commissioner Hall may be ready to tithe, Reverend, so you may want to reach out to him.
I'm already tied up, so don't worry.
Thank you.
Welcome. Call the next case, please.
The time is now 9:31 p.m. We're gonna recall case ZBA 24-37 located at 542 Broadway, block 679, lot 64 in the North Ward. The applicant is Raul Enrique Miniel Duran. In the C2 zone, the applicant proposes to occupy commercial space for a church and community outreach. Applicant is seeking a D1 use variance. Site plan approval is not required. This application was previously adjourned to this date from the September 12th hearing.
Hi, Pastor Duran, could you turn your camera on and unmute yourself, please?
Bien. Ok, ¿y la cámara? La cámara,
Por favor.
la cámara no me está funcionando con ustedes, la tengo apagada.
Oh.
Tienen que habilitármela ustedes, por favor.
The camera is disabled. Can you, there it is.
There we go. There you go. So, can we identify the persons who are here? First, the translator.
Aracelis Tejada?
And Ms. Tejada, you remember you are under oath, correct? To translate exactly what's said by us to the Reverend and exactly what's said by the Reverend to us.
Yes.
And I see, is that the architect here?
Yes.
Yes.
And can I have your name and address for the record, please?
Su nombre y dirección para récord.
Ok, mi nombre es Nelson Miniel. Mi dirección es 368 Roseville Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07107.
And Mr. Miniel, is your architectural license in full force and effect in the state of New Jersey?
Su licencia está en fuerza en el estado de New Jersey.
No, yo trabajo para una compañía con el arquitecto Allende Matos. Yo tengo conocimiento de lo que se hizo en nuestra compañía para este proyecto.
I work with the architect Matos, and I have all knowledge of the drawings for this project.
So, and I'll ask our counsel to let me know if you disagree with me, but I don't believe that an unlicensed person can testify regarding architectural drawings drawn by a licensed.
Let me translate.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Representante Charles dice que no cree, y él le va a dejar la palabra a la abogada, que no cree que legalmente él pueda ser algún testigo porque no tiene la licencia del estado de New Jersey, o sea, él no es el licenciatario.
And I'd ask our lawyer
Y le
to,
va a preguntar a su abogado
if she wants to opine on that.
y él le va a preguntar al abogado a ver si quiere comentar sobre eso.
Mr. Chair, you are correct. He will not be able to testify as an expert without having a license.
So, la abogada dice que él no va a poder ser testigo sin tener él la licencia. So, no lo podemos utilizar a él como testigo.
País, ¿quién hizo el caso?
He's commenting to me that the architect that prepared the case had to leave the country, and that's why he came in representation that we had the meeting.
Understood. So here's where we stand. This is the Reverend's application. It's for a use variance. He can certainly choose to proceed, but he really, I mean, he has no experts here.
Let me translate.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Está a la discreción del reverendo si usted quiere proceder, pero es lo único que él está comentando que no tienes un experto legal que pueda testificar a favor de la iglesia. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask counsel if she believes that the gentleman, well, Mr. Miniel, how do you know anything about these drawings?
¿Cómo tú sabes, señor Miniel, algo de estos dibujos? ¿Me puede dar una explicación?
Yo fui la persona que hice el dibujo. Yo soy arquitecto, pero no tengo la licencia de New Jersey.
Okay. I am an architect, but I don't have my license for New Jersey. I did the drawings because I work for the company as a drawer.
So you're saying that you drew these plans? Is that correct?
Sí.
Tú estás diciendo que tú fuiste
Yo
que
dibujé los planos. Yes.
Yes. He's
Okay.
saying that he's
Okay, here's what I'm going to suggest. I think that the Reverend has to determine if he wants to proceed with his application. At the moment, he'd be the only one that can testify. He'd have to present the case that shows that he can meet the standards of the law required for a D variance.
okay. Give me a second. So, están en usted, sería el único que podría testificar en este momento y dar la explicación completa de por qué usted legalmente debiera de tomar esta variancia de, ¿verdad? Pero está a la discreción suya. No podemos utilizar ningún profesional en este momento, es lo que te está diciendo.
Okay. So there's a gentleman who just was brought in, Leo Meneses.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon, everybody at the room.
Could you state your name and address for the record, sir? And
yeah, my name is Leo Meneses. My address is 51 East Broad Street in Bergenfield, New Jersey. My In this case, my responsibility is I'm the general contractor with license in New Jersey. I'm the one doing the job at the site job for Pastor Raul Miniel. So I got my license in New Jersey as a contractor.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank
So, what does the pastor want to do?
¿Qué usted quiere hacer? ¿Quiere proceder?
Quiero proceder.
He would like to
Testimonio de
proceed
Leo.
with
Okay.
the testimony of Leo if it's possible.
With the testimony of Leo. Commissioner Comisanias, you have your hand raised.
Chair, I think we do have some obligation to kind of protect people from not knowing the process. Is it possible to explain to them how if they don't get approved, it's not, they can't just come back and claim that they didn't understand, right? It would then be res judicata.
Let me translate that, David. I appreciate that. Yo creo que él quiere que para que usted tenga el conocimiento del procedimiento, de cómo se procede en estos casos. Él quiere que usted tenga en realidad la conciencia de que si ellos no le aprueban ahora, porque maybe usted no estaba preparado, eso puede ser que tenga una consecuencia. Continue with what you wanted to, what you want me to translate.
The process is not as simple as just coming back and then saying, oh, I have my experts now.
Now, okay. So, el proceso no es tan fácil de regresar para atrás y decir, oh, mira, ahora tengo mis expertos. Me explico. Continue, David.
I think it's important for him to understand the tone of the board in their effort to let him understand the process.
Okay, es muy importante que tú entiendas que la Junta tiene que tomar una decisión basada a este proceso que está haciendo. Y la discreción está en ti, esta decisión. Y también él mencionó que no es tan fácil de solo regresar y decir si ahora tengo mis expertos. Porque esto sería una decisión que la Junta va a tomar, pero está a la discreción suya. Go ahead.
Sometimes it makes sense to understand the tone of the questioning and the advice, or
A
just
veces,
advice with questioning.
a veces es importante que tomas en cautela el tono de la pregunta que te están poniendo, porque puede ser impactante, ¿verdad?
Correcto.
So, eso es lo que te está diciendo David. Ajá. So, ¿qué tú quieres proponer?
Yo quiero proponer entonces otra fecha para estar con el arquitecto licenciado como testigo y otras personas junto con el hermano Leo Meneses, que también...
Momento, producer, por favor.
Yeah. So, with that said, what he's trying to say is repítelo para yo poder traducirlo porque lo dice muy rápido.
Si es posible,
If it's possible,
poner una fecha que el arquitecto venga del extranjero y esté con nosotros como nuestro principal testigo.
okay, so if it's possible that we can adjourn this meeting so that he can bring his architect when he comes back over to the U.S. grounds and be his witness with the contractor that came in today.
Yeah, I again, it is totally up to the Reverend how he wants to proceed.
Sí,
I
es
think
totalmente a tu discreción cómo tú quieras proceder.
personally,
Personalmente,
I think he'd be better served by having an architect and maybe some other experts, maybe having doesn't have to, but it might help. I heard him say licenciado before. He might want to have a lawyer that really understands the law and this process, because traduce.
ok, con lo que está sucediendo, sería bueno que no tanto el arquitecto, pero que tuvieras tu abogado también, porque él escuchó que tú dijiste licenciado, y si tú tienes tu licenciado, sería una mejor representación para ti.
Correcto, sí.
Correcto.
Estoy de acuerdo.
I'm in
Because
agreement.
because as Commissioner Comesaña stated, once this board makes a decision, there are new barriers to changing the decision.
Ok, so, es una de las cosas que él quiere que tú tengas en mente, que cuando esta junta toma una decisión, hay ciertas barreras que se van a interponer en esa decisión que ya ellos tomaron. Tú tendrías que entonces llevarlo a la Corte Suprema como te explicó, ¿tú me entiendes? Como él explicó al principio. So, eso es lo que está diciendo.
Entonces, me gustaría que me diera la oportunidad de otra fecha
Yeah, he would like
para
a postponement for another
estar
day,
mejor
so you
preparado.
could be prepared.
Thank you. Commissioner Comesañas.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to
Well, let's get some dates first. Wouldn't that be appropriate? Is that appropriate still in line with what you're gonna propose?
yes.
Okay, Ms. Mejia. We
Yes.
need a little bit of time. He needs a little bit of time. He's gonna have to hire counsel. He wants to try and hire counsel. The counsel's gonna have to learn this case. He's gonna have to hire or get in touch with an architect. So we need a little bit of time so he can put that together.
Te va a necesitar un poco de tiempo para que él está diciendo a ella que tú vas a necesitar un poquito de tiempo para que el abogado y el arquitecto vayan a poder estar presentes.
El arquitecto estará presente dentro de una semana allí.
The architect should be back within a week.
Okay, November 21st.
Noviembre 22, 21, 21.
No, una fecha más baja.
Noviembre 21.
No habrá una fecha más baja.
Esa es la próxima que tiene, el señor Mejía. Is there
It's
another
not
date he's saying?
Mhm.
Yeah, esa es la próxima.
Okay.
Okay, está bien.
Commissioner Comesañas.
Is that enough time, or did he want more time?
He wanted less
¿Necesita
time.
más tiempo o tú crees que se te da tiempo? That's good.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this case to the next
November
meeting.
21st.
21st, there you go, I'm sorry.
Thursday.
We have a motion to adjourn to
Second.
November 21st. How many cases are on that day, Ms. Mejia?
3, this would be the 4th.
That's before Thanksgiving.
Wow. I should have asked that first. What are those other 3 cases like?
I'd like to change my motion.
Yeah.
Quiero cambiar la moción, dijo.
Well, some of them are actually potentially going to get removed because there's going to be revised determinations, which is why I placed it on that date. They might be some cases might be transferred to the Central Planning Board pending the revision of termination from the zoning office.
Are you willing to subject yourself to the wrath of the board if none of that happens?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are. You are. So
She's
how many
stuck in here with us.
Están tratando de llegar a acuerdo en cuanto a la hora, porque ese día tienen 4 casos más que le están preguntando a ella que si ella cree que va a ser muy abrumada la reunión, puede ser que 2 de esas vistas se vayan a cancelar. So, por eso están tratando de quedar en un acuerdo del tiempo. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're concerned about how many cases because we want to make sure everybody that's scheduled gets heard that day.
So, él tiene miedo de esa fecha porque quiere asegurarse que todas las personas que él ponga en la agenda que se escuchen ese día.
How many cases do you believe are going to be removed from our agenda, Ms. Mejia? Of the 3 that are already there?
I believe 2.
2.
¿Cuántos casos de los que están ahora mismo ahí tú crees que van a quitarlo de la agenda que nos dé tiempo? Y ella dice que puede ser que 2 de los casos no se vayan a verse. Serían 2 nada más, tuyo y otro más.
Commissioner Comesañas, does that have an effect on your decision?
Yes, then I'd like to continue my motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Comesañas. I want to make clear to him that we schedule this for November 21st. That'll be.
Noviembre 21.
Should I second that? Should I second that?
Commissioner Ribeiro is
Should I?
hesitatingly seconding. Call the roll, please.
Chairman, with no guarantee that you'll be heard. He knows, he was explained that, right?
Well, that's fair. So, traducer, por favor. Right now, there are 3 cases on that for that day.
Ahora mismo en ese día hay 3 casos.
We don't know what those cases are.
No sabemos dónde están esos casos.
But it is now 9:50.
Ahora mismo son las 9:50.
We've heard 2 cases today.
Y escuchamos 2 casos.
And our rules require that we stop hearing cases at 10 o'clock.
La regla dice que a las 10 de la noche ya no se escucha el caso.
So we're gonna adjourn this, if he still wants it, to November 21st. We're hoping that other cases may be changed. Traduce.
No, él te quiere dejar saber que te está poniendo para el 21, pero sabemos, si no estamos con los registros cruzados, no garantizamos que pueda ser, hay un chance que no se vea a la vista por el hecho de que hay 3 y hoy se vieron 2 solamente. So, al tener 4 en la agenda, posiblemente puede ser que el 21 no se vea o sí se vea, dependiendo si se caen 2 de los casos que ya había mencionado anterior.
The only other dates we can give are dates that would be after November
Las
20th.
únicas otras fechas que él tendría serían fechas más adelante.
Bueno, me gustaría que esperara al 21 porque los gastos que hemos tenido, porque soy un renter.
Sí, he wants to mention that he's renting, so even though he would like to stay with the 21st,
Okay.
the hopes that you guys will be able to see him that day.
Okay. We have a motion, Comesañas, a second, Ribeiro, call the roll, please. That's adjourning this matter to 11:21.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Comesañas,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Rivera.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Mumford,
Yes.
Chair Fox.
Yes, I would ask for the Reverend to send he has a sign on the property, correct? Is there a notice on the property about
Yes,
this?
there's signage on the property.
So
We
I
need
would,
to update the date.
yeah, if you could just update the date with a sticker. And
Okay.
I'd also ask if he would please just send regular mail letters, not certified this time, but just regular mail letters
Okay,
to the folks within 200 feet.
let me translate. Todo lo único, los Junta le está pidiendo a usted que pagamos un sticker al frente con la fecha del 21 de noviembre y que mandemos correspondencia regular. ¿Ok? A todas las cartitas que enviamos, que la mandemos regular.
Okay, está bien.
Ok,
Again, I thank the Reverend for doing that. It's not required, but it's a good neighborly thing to do.
muchas gracias, le dice.
Nada, Dios le bendiga, muchas gracias.
Thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you on the 21st. Council, are there any resolutions to be memorialized?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Council, I'm sorry, Ms. Mejia,
Yes.
we're all going to remember you picked this date. And Ms. Mejia, are there any minutes to be memorialized?
No.
Excuse me?
No.
I'd love to hear those 2 things. Council, any matters for which we have to convene into executive session?
No, Mr. Chairman.
0 for 3. Look at this. Council,
Yes.
you'll call me in the morning?
At 8:30. Yes.
Oh, goodness, I'm 8:30 kind of guy. Okay, it's, we have no further business. A motion to adjourn
Chair.
is in order.
Chair,
Motion.
David,
Comisarios, what?
just to let everyone know, if you'd like to reach out to Commissioner Cobian privately, she lost her dog and she's pretty devastated.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry to hear that.
so if you want to reach out to her privately, I know her number's in that group text. I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn is always in order. It's
And
non-debatable.
non-debatable.
That's right. It is non-debatable. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion again.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, all.